everybody, and welcome to this special Superman open spoiler discussion. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. Good to have you guys here. Thank you for all of you being here today to join me for this open discussion that we're going to have about Superman. Now, listen, just in case the title doesn't give it away to you, this is going to be a fully open, spoiler-filled discussion. All right, we're going to talk about all the things that happened in the movie. We're going to talk about in great spoilery detail. So if you have either A, not seen the movie, or don't want to hear about all the different things, just add this video to your favorites list and then come on back and watch it after you've had a chance to watch Superman. All right, guys, good to have all you guys here. And here's what we're going to do today. We're going to start off with me talking about some of the things that I liked and disliked about the movie. But really, the vast majority of our time here today is taking your thoughts, observations, questions, whatever theories about the Superman movie, and only about the Superman movie. If you write in a question asking about Fantastic Four, I'm probably not going to address it. We'll probably skip right by because we are here to talk about Superman today. So good to have all you guys here. We just started. We got 800 people in the live chat. Good to have all you guys here. So listen, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it, shall we? All right. Now, I love the movie. You guys already know I love the movie. Is it my favorite comic book movie of the year? I'm not sure I'm ready to say that because, you know, I talked about this on the John Campea Show the other day. I love Thunderbolts. Like, I love that movie. I think that movie is just absolutely terrific. So am I ready to say that this Superman movie has passed Thunderbolts as my favorite comic book movie of the year? I need a few weeks to think on that. I've already seen the movie 3 times. I'm probably going to see it 3 or 4 more times because Anne wants to just keep going back and watching it again and again. Listen to the music with no fear, cause I'm yeah, anyway, that song is living in my head, by the way. Cause I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. Oh, Iggy Pop. Okay, so, but I loved it. I loved it. Now, when I review movies, you guys know that, for those of you who've watched me for any period of time, you guys know that when I'm talking about a movie that I didn't like, I like to start off talking about the things that did work for me. You know what I mean? Generally speaking, when there's a movie I didn't like, I like to start the conversation talking about the things in it that I did think were good. The opposite is also true. When I have a movie that I really, really like Superman, I like to start off talking about the things that didn't work for me. And so I thought I would get that all out of the way first so we can spend the vast majority of our time talking about how great of a movie this is. So let's go over to my classroom here, shall we? Because I want to spend a few minutes before we get into all the great things we loved about the movie. I want to get over and talk about my nitpicks. Okay, here are some things about the movie, as much as I really loved it, that I thought either could have been done better or didn't quite work for me or whatever. So the first things first, and you guys have heard me mention this on the show already before. I thought it was too short. Like, normally, for you guys who watch me, you know that one of my biggest complaints about a lot of movies, including movies that I love, are when they're too long. Like, I usually like it when they're shrunk up a bit. I always feel like, this movie was great, but if they had tightened it up by about 10 or 15 minutes, would have been even better. But this was a movie that I felt like it should have been a little bit longer. Like, somebody's asking me, would you rather 1 to 3 hours? No, but instead of 2 hours, maybe 2 hours and 10 minutes, maybe 2 hours, 15 minutes. And it's not that I felt like anything was missing from the movie. It's just that there were moments in the film that I felt could have been allowed a little bit more time to breathe. You know what I mean? Like, there are moments in the film where I thought, like, for instance, the scene where Lois goes to visit the Justice Gang, right? At their Hall of Justice. I felt like that we could have spent 2 or 3 minutes more. I felt like Clark interacting with his parents, the Kents, not given 15 minutes more, but I felt like that also could have been given 2 or 3 minutes more. I feel like the dynamic between Clark and his coworkers at the Daily Planet could have been given 2 or 3 minutes more. So like when you add it all up, when you take a number of the scenes that I thought you could have given a little bit more time to breathe, and you add up that 1 extra minute, 3 extra minutes, 2 extra minutes, it comes out to be about 15 minutes, I think, that this movie could have been a little bit longer. Again, all the story points were there, so that was fine. But I really did feel like it should have been given like about like just another 10 or 15 minutes. I just thought would have given it a nicer pace. All right. And by the way, these are in no particular order, okay? These are in no particular order. Second thing, I've seen the movie 3 times now. I didn't like it the first time I saw it. I really didn't like it the second time that I saw it. And I absolutely hated it the third time I saw it. And the thing I'm talking about is this. Engineer's line in the Fortress of Solitude. I know, Lex. I gave up my humanity. Blah, blah, blah. I hate that line. I hate that line. I thought the writing in this movie was really good. Like, the writing in this movie felt totally in place for what the tone of the movie is supposed to be. I really did love the writing of the movie. But that one line felt so forced and so out of place. Oh, he really bothers me, blah, blah. I know, Lex. That's why I sacrificed my humanity to, like, Lex, I know that. Why are you telling me as if I don't know? It just felt like such an out of place, totally cringy line. And I know I'm nitpicking. I'm totally nitpicking, but I've seen the movie 3 times now. And every time I watch the movie, that line grates on me worse and worse and worse. All right. Third thing. And again, these are in no particular order. Third thing. Superman and oxygen. This bothered me. And it could have been corrected with a tiny little adjustment. Just a tiny little adjustment. And it totally could have been rectified. Like this whole thing about, well, wait a minute, I thought Superman could hold his breath for an hour. An hour? We literally just heard Superman say Kara flies to other galaxies with red suns. Even at the speed of light, that takes more than an hour. Like you're just talking about like, he can hold his breath for an hour. No, he can hold his breath indefinitely. Superman can hold it practically indefinitely. So, and like they literally end the movie in the first post-credit scene of him sitting on the moon with Krypto. It's like, wait a minute, you're just saying he needs air. You know what they totally could have done to totally fix that? Remember when all of Lex's people are sitting in the control room and they're like, they're filling his lungs, and the one girl, but can't he hold his breath for an hour? And then the one guy explains it. Well, he needs to have oxygen in there, right? A simple fix. When the guy's explaining to the girl how they can suffocate Superman, a quick one line of his alien genetics allows the oxygen in his body to replenish itself and re-energize itself. So when he has oxygen in his body, it can last for years. But oxygen has to be in there. The nanites are pushing all the oxygen out of his body. Simple fix. You just say that, and it makes it narratively work. That way you can explain suffocating Superman while not having to retcon or dance around the idea that, wait a minute, no, he can go underwater to Atlantis for a month. He can fly for 6 months to other galaxies and not breathe air. If they simply said his alien biology allows his body to keep recycling the oxygen in it, but if you push all the oxygen out, then he'll suffocate. Simple line. Simple, simple little line. And I think that one little detail would have fixed that completely. Totally would have fixed it. And so I wish they just done that, that one little part a little bit differently. All right. So let's see. What have I said so far? I said I thought it was a little bit too short. It should have been given a little bit more room to breathe. No pun intended, room to breathe. The engineer, that one line the engineer gives, I thought they could have given a little bit of a better explanation about Superman and his oxygen. There was one other thing that I thought that might have, not much else. Not much else. I really don't have much else. Those are like basically the main three things that didn't work for me about the movie that I thought could have been better. I'm sure as we're talking, there'll be some things. But before we get into all the things that I love, I do want to address a couple of things of some common brain dead critiques. Like, I don't mind legitimate critiques of Superman. I have some legitimate critiques of Superman myself, but I hate the brain dead ones. There's two in particular. One is the absolute, like, if you say it, I just assume you're an idiot. But the one critique is they made the Kents stupid. No, they didn't. They made the Kents have an accent. And if you equate having an accent with being stupid, that says more about you. Nothing about the Kents' actions or the way they cared for or raised Clark, and even the big pep talk Pa Kent gives Clark, saying, you know what one of the best lines in the movie is? When Clark is talking to Jonathan Kent about the fact that, I never knew what the second part of the message from my parents was. I always just assumed it was this. Pa Kent is not the best movie in the line in the movie, but I'll get to that in a minute. One of the best lines in the movie is Pa Kent saying, and I'm paraphrasing, he says, the fact that you wanted the second part of the message to say that says more about you than anything your parents said. And I'm paraphrasing that a little bit. That wasn't the exact wording. But again, Clark's all messed up because of what the second half of the message was. And the fact that his dad, Jonathan Kent, says to him, the fact that you wanted the second half of that message to be all this great positive stuff says more about you than anything that your parents actually said. I love that. I also, the whole speech he gives his son about, parents, we're not for telling our kids what to do with their lives. We're just here to give you tools so you can make fools of yourselves. And then he says, this whole thing, who cares what your parents said? Your choices, your actions define who you are. And I couldn't be proud. I'm getting chills. Can you see it? The hair on my arm is standing up. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. When his dad says that to him, I got emotional. Your choices, your actions define who you are, and I couldn't be prouder. He knew how to say exactly what Clark needed to hear in that moment. But inevitably, almost whenever I'm seeing, the little trolls popping their heads up, they made the Kents out to be stupid. Nothing the Clark said or did in that movie sounded stupid. They just have a heavy accent. And too many people interpret heavy accent as meaning stupid. And that bothers me. Anyway. The second, and this is the biggest one. It's like, tell me you're an imbecilic moron without actually saying you're an imbecilic moron. Again, whether it's in my own comments section or in discussions online, the little trolls popping up their head is, this Superman was weak. He just got beat up the whole. Why is Superman, can he get beat up by everybody? It's like, idiot. Did you even watch the movie? Superman gets beat up by everybody? What? Let's look at some facts, okay? Number one, there are 4 different individual engagements that Clark has against 4 individual individuals or groups, okay? He has combat with the Raptors. He has combat with the Engineer. He has combat with the Kaiju. And he has combat with Ultraman, a genetic clone of himself. Let's take out Ultraman for a moment. Let's look at the other three, okay? The Raptors, kill him. Good luck with that. Boom, wipes them all out in a second, right? Just completely tears them apart in moments. All right. The Kaiju. He has no problems with the Kaiju. The only reason it was taking him some time, as he explained to Guy, was I'm just trying to figure out a way we can neutralize him without killing him, maybe get him to an intergalactic zoo, all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, he was having no problems with that giant Kaiju. He was having no problems. The only time it was challenging was trying to figure out a way to keep it alive and minimize damage to the people around. But as far as Kaiju versus Superman, Superman was having no problem with him. Right? He was just trying to ease off as much as he could. So his combat against the Raptors, no problem. His combat against the Kaiju, no problem. He's Superman. All right, well, how about the Engineer? There's only 2 instances in the movie, and they're right around the same time, that Superman actually engages one-on-one, aside from help with Ultraman, engages one-on-one with Engineer. And whenever Superman is engaged one-on-one with Engineer, he handles her no problem. He handles her no problem. He even gets her pinned and says, listen, it's not too late for you. You don't have to do what Lex tells you to do. And then Ultraman comes flying out and knocks him out, right? But that's the thing. So if you want to look at the 4 individuals or groups that Superman has individual combat with, Kaiju, no problem. Raptors, easy. The Engineer, not an ounce of effort. And as a matter of fact, James Gunn made this a weak Superman. The movie literally starts calling Superman the most powerful of all the metahumans, and says he's, in all of his years, in his 3 years since he introduced himself as Superman, he's never lost a battle until 3 minutes ago. Okay, so let's talk about the Ultraman thing. The Ultraman thing is he's literally fighting a copy of himself. The difference is you got Superman, and it's just Superman. Every once in a while, Krypto's there to help out, but basically it's just Superman. Then you got Ultraman, but it's not just Ultraman. It's Ultraman with an entire tactical, technologically advanced, well-prepared, studied, and ready to go tactical team supporting him. Listen, if you got 2 things that are equal, but the one thing has a massive set of advantages behind it, it's going to have the upper hand. And so when you have a genetic copy, a genetic clone of Superman fighting Superman, of course the genetic clone is going to give Superman a run for his money because he's every bit as powerful as he is, except he has the added advantage. Like, follow me here. If you have a basketball game between 2 teams, right? One team knew they were going to be playing that other team for 3 months. And for 3 months, they studied their opponent. They analyzed every player's strengths and weaknesses, their tendencies, the holes in their game, where the strengths are, what their weaknesses are, blah, 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 blah. And the other team just shows up for the game knowing nothing about the other guys. Guess what? The team that is completely prepared is going to have the advantage. That was the situation James Gunn clearly set up with the problems with Ultraman, right? The problems with Ultraman. And, by the way, the moment Krypto neutralized the tactical team behind Ultraman, Superman started winning the fight no problem. As soon as that advantage was taken away from Ultraman, Superman was able to gain the upper hand and eventually win, right? So this whole thing of people like going, Superman just kept getting beat up the whole movie. He wiped out the Raptors. He took out the Kaiju, no problem. He beat the Engineer one-on-one. And yes, he was struggling for the first time. The movie makes clear for the first time in his entire existence as Superman, because he was literally fighting a genetic clone of himself. That's going to be problematic. And what is the point of having a movie if Superman just walks through it unchallenged? If Superman literally has nothing that causes him any impediments, if Superman literally has no obstacles overcome, if Superman literally has no challenges that are literally challenging to him, what's the point in that movie? What's the point of that movie? So listen, there are things to criticize about Superman. I've already listed off a few of them, and there are probably others. Superman is not a perfect movie by any stretch. There are some legitimate critiques to have about it. Absolutely some legitimate critiques to have about it. But this whole thing, Superman was weak and he just got beat up the whole time. Shut the fuck up. You didn't even watch the movie. Or if you watch the movie, you intentionally are ignoring all the things that are happening, or you're just really that stupid. There are things to complain about in this movie. There are some legitimate things to complain about this movie. And if you don't like the movie, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's just a stupid thing. That part is just absolutely. So the two things that drive me nuts, some of the criticism, they made the Kents out to be stupid. No, they made the Kents out to have heavy accents, but they were clearly very excellent parents. Superman was weak and was constantly beat up in the whole movie. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Did you watch the movie? Anyway, there's a couple of things that really kind of bother me about the so-called criticism. But again, there are other criticisms that I think are completely valid, 100% valid. There's nothing wrong with having some issues with the film. Anyway, so that's that. Before we get on to the main part of our show today, which is just taking your live comments and questions, I wanted to take a second and talk about this. I might even segment this out and make it its own video. I want to talk about what I think is the defining moment of Superman. The moment that defines, to me, who this new Superman is in this movie. And it's not when he fights Ultraman. It's not when he confronts Lex and gives him that great speech about being human. By the way, that was a great little thing he added on the end, is like, my humanity is my greatest strength. And I hope for the sake of humanity, someday, Lex, you recognize that too. Because Superman recognizes that Lex could be very important to the human race. But at any rate, the most defining moment of the movie is not that conversation with Pa Kent. The most defining moment of the movie is not him finding out about his parents. The most defining moment of the movie is not about him saving Metamorpho's kid. This is the most defining moment of Superman in the movie that I think, if all you saw was this one quick scene, you would have a perfect picture of who this new Superman is. Are you ready for it? Have I built it up? I bet you're not even thinking about the line I'm going to mention, but here it is. It's during the scene when Superman is back in his apartment, in Clark's apartment, and the Justice Gang is out the window fighting the interdimensional imp, which I laugh harder every time. I've seen the movie 3 times. I laugh harder at that every single time. And he's having his conversation with Lois. And there are big things going on with him, and there are big things going on in the world. And Clark says, the DOJ has, I'm paraphrasing, the DOJ has a warrant out for my arrest. I'm going to go turn myself in. And she's like, why? And he's like, because they probably know where Crypto is, and maybe they'll take me to where Crypto is. So I'm going to turn myself in. To which Lois says, it's just a dog. And Clark says, yeah, and he's not even a very good one, which, by the way, I laugh my ass off every time at that. She goes, it's just a dog. And he says, yeah, he's not even a very good one, but he's alone and he's probably scared. That may seem like a really quick, simple little line, right? Oh, I want to go find my dog, right? A quick, little, simple line. The reason to me that that moment is the most defining moment of the character of Superman in this movie is because of two things. Number one, that it's not even like this dog is the most special thing in the world to him. Like there's a part of him that is really irritated by Krypto. Like he's just a dog. Yeah. And he's not even a very good one. But that's not the point. In the midst of all this personal stuff he has going on, in the midst of the fact that the world is turning against him, in the midst of the fact that his own government that he's been serving and protecting is turning against him, in the midst of the fact that he's dealing with this existential crisis about his parents not being what he thought, at least he thinks his parents aren't what he thought they were, and now he's questioning his own identity, and there's a battle with a big space imp, and Lex is trying to do something, and there's some hammer of Baravia or whatever the name of the country is out there that's in the midst of all that, really big, important personal things to him. This Superman's first thought is about this little dog that he doesn't even like that much. That's probably alone and scared. And he's willing to put all of his own baggage on hold. He's willing to put all of his own drama on hold. He's willing to put all of his own issues and things that are affecting him on hold. Because out there somewhere, there's this dog who's alone and is probably scared. When I came out of Superman after my first viewing, I did an out of theater reaction to it. And one of the things that I said in it, it's like, what makes this Superman great isn't that he's powerful. A force of nature, a hurricane can be powerful. An earthquake can be powerful. A tidal wave can be powerful. It's not that he's powerful, and he is. James Gunn says right at the beginning of the movie, he is the most powerful metahuman of them all, and he is. But that's not what makes this Superman great, how powerful he is. What makes this Superman great is his character. All good guys in movies are good guys, but there's something special about this Superman. I love Thor. Don't get me wrong. I love Chris Hemsworth's Thor. But I've never come out of a Thor. I often come out of Thor movies very entertained, but I don't come out of Thor movies being inspired to be a better person. I clearly love the Deadpool movies. I'm extremely entertained. They're some of my favorites, but I've never come out of a Deadpool movie being inspired to want to be a better man. I had hints of that with Chris Evans's Captain America. There have been moments with Captain America with Steve Rogers in the Marvel movies that have had that little glimmer of kind of being inspired, right? But every time I watch this Superman movie, particularly exemplified in that scene, yeah, but he's alone and he's probably scared. And throughout the whole movie, I've never watched a superhero movie. As a matter of fact, the only other movie, superhero movie or not, the only other movie that's ever made me feel more inspired to be a better human being was that, and I'm not joking, I'm being dead serious, is that Mr. Rogers documentary. I can't remember if it was called Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood or Won't You Be My Neighbor? I can't remember what the name of the documentary was. But that was the king of that. Like that movie, you walk out making a life commitment to wanting to be a better person. Watching that documentary about Mr. Rogers. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest you watch it. It's absolutely unbelievable. But I've certainly never seen a superhero movie where the main character, the hero, actually inspires me. I've seen lots of superhero movies that I love. I've seen lots of superhero movies that are awesome and cool, and the characters do these incredible things, and it's great. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I love those. Some of them even better than the Superman movie. But I've never been in any of them where the hero literally inspires me. And that, for somebody like me, that movies are experiential events, that's a special thing, man. I think that is a special, special thing. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's another really good one. Life is Beautiful is another really, really good one. But yeah, so to me, that is the defining moment of the movie. That is the moment of the movie that defines and tells you everything you need to know about this particular rendition of Superman and what makes this Superman so special. And then here's the cool thing. James Gunn is completely consistent with it throughout the whole movie. From his empathy towards the kaiju, him trying to save Engineer, it's not too late for you. Hell, the fact that he would even fly out to save a squirrel. Like James Gunn, that definition of Superman that we get in that scene is consistent throughout the whole film. It's just exemplified the best in that scene with Lois in his apartment. So, yeah, somebody's asking me, what are your biggest criticisms of the movie? Well, you're obviously got here late because I already covered all that. Go back and watch the beginning of this broadcast a little bit later, and I'm sure we'll come up with some other ones too. Anyway, guys, that's kind of the pre-ramble. One other thing. I'm going to add one other thing to the things that I didn't like about the movie. Okay. And this is just a little nitpick. It's not even important. Post-credit scenes were pointless. I mean, don't get me wrong. They were cute. Like mid-credit with Superman and Krypto on the moon. Very cute. We already saw the image online, but very cute. It was cute, but it was pointless. And then the scene at the very end with Mr. Terrific, like, oh, the building isn't lined up completely perfectly. I didn't even think that was that funny. So completely useless. Now, that is very consistent with James Gunn's philosophy about post-credit scenes. James Gunn doesn't really believe you should use post-credit scenes for like setting things up. He doesn't believe in that. So that's fine. But yeah, I generally tell people that when you go to the movie, you don't need to stick around for the post-credit scenes. I mean, they're fine if you do, and they're cute. They're cute. They put a little smile on your face, but there's not a big laugh in it, or there's not any kind of a tease in it, and it doesn't necessarily have to have a tease, but there's not a big thing, a big experiential thing in it. So you don't really need to stick around for it. So yeah, those are my things. All right, guys, with that all down, it's now time for us to get around to the whole reason we're here, which is to take your thoughts, comments, questions, theories, opinions, criticisms, whatever, of the Superman movie. So let's get to it here, shall we? We're going to start off with Jai CSC, who writes, I loved it. Not a question about where to start discussing Superman, more when will I stop gushing about it? Bravo, James. I can't wait for what's next. Completely agree. He understood the assignment. I thought he killed it. Like, again, was it a perfect Superman movie? No. Is it the best comic book movie ever made? No. I'm not even sure it's the best comic book movie of the year. But I just wanted this movie to be good, and it exceeded my expectations. I had a really good time with it, and I'm glad you did too. All right. Brandon writes, let's see. Maybe being kind, trusting people, and seeing the beauty of people is today's punk rock. I love that so much. This is Superman in our modern world. Yeah, I agree. Maybe kindness and empathy and being nice to people, that is what's being punk rock. Some people found that line cheesy. I respect that. I can see why you would. I do. If you're one of the people who found that line cheesy, I can respect that. But it was not cheesy to me. I thought that was one of the many things in the movie that made my heart smile. And set up the end for the teddy bears with Iggy Pop. Well, I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. You have no idea. I'm not even going to admit to you how many times that YouTube video has played in my living room over the past 72 hours. I'm not even going to tell you because it's embarrassing. Listen to the music with no fear. You can hear it too if you're sincere. I'm not even sure if I'm getting all the lyrics right. But anyway, I'm a punk rocker. Yes, I am. I love that. Love that song. And I love the ending, man. I love the ending. When Gary says, I shall put on the footage of your parents, it soothes him. But this time it's the Kents. And it's just Superman looking up and smiling. See, this movie is about as much as Clark understanding his own humanity as it is about us as the audience understanding his humanity. We always talk about the Kryptonian. We don't often, not a lot of the movies focus on the humanity of Clark. And for them to end on that note with that music playing, I just thought that was great, man. I loved it. And yeah, somebody in the live chat just said, I was not expecting Iggy. Yeah, who was it? It was Rewinding Film says, I did not expect Iggy Pop in a Superman movie at all. Neither did I. But man, did it fit well. And I liked it a lot. All right. Next up, Brandon also writes, I did not expect that ending to be playing memories of his parents. But when it started, it hit me right in the feels. Your choices make you who you are. Dude, I love that ending. I love it. That is to me, that ending when the music starts playing and he's watching all the footage. This is one of the reasons why I think they should have given 2 or 3 more minutes to his interaction with the Kents a little bit earlier. That being said, that moment at the end of the film when the music starts playing and he's looking at the footage of him as a child with the Kents loving him and the Kents taking him as their own and being so wonderful to him as parents, and him just laying on that bed and smiling big with the music playing and all that kind of stuff, man. That right there, fuck it, I'll say it, that's cinema. When a moment on screen elicits emotion in you, that's cinema. That's movie magic. And every time I've seen this movie and it gets to that part, my heart explodes. Like my heart gets overjoyed. I love it. I just think it's great. Anyway. All right. Let's see. Next up, Daniel Brown writes, to the people that say Superman was powered down, if he's powered down, then how was he able to use his breath to blow himself away from a black hole? Yeah, that's the thing. Again, I've already said it. Quick repeat. James Gunn starts the movie by telling everybody Superman introduced himself to the world, and he is the most powerful metahuman of them all. Oh, and by the way, in the 3 years since he's been doing this, he's never lost a battle. He can even take out these giant skyscraper kaijus. The only time he had a problem was against his own genetic clone. That was it. So yeah, they didn't really power down Superman too much. I mean, they powered him down a bit compared to the comics, because in the comics, it's just ridiculous. But I mean, he is clearly the most powerful of all the metahumans. All right. Daniel also writes, perfect comic book movie. Yeah, I'll stop short of calling it a perfect comic book movie, but it is the most comic book of any comic book movie I've seen. Now, whenever I've said that, I've had some people come back and say, well, John, what about Sin City? Well, see, that's not what I'm talking about. Yeah, Sin City is literally a panel for panel recreation, but I'm talking in the DNA of it. Like this Superman movie, there has never been a more comic book movie, I think, than this Superman movie in its pure DNA. Not in how it copies panel for panel, because the Spirit did that, and that was terrible. But I'm talking about like in its genetic code. It's just the most comic book movie I've ever seen. Daniel Brown writes, Megaplex always plays movies 15 minutes after showtime. Okay. Anyway, let's see. Connor Mullis writes, do not expect the Peacemaker cameo. That was cool. Okay. Listen, I'm going to admit something. I knew about the Peacemaker cameo probably about 4 or 5 months ago. And obviously I never said anything about it. I've known about the Peacemaker cameo for months. And it still caught me by surprise when it happens. What do you think about that, Chris? Well, they're just jealous of me because I'm more jacked than they are. It was such a great cameo. And again, to your point, I knew about it for months and it still surprised me when it popped up on screen. I thought it was really great. All right. Santiago Lugo writes, it's been years since a comic book movie inspired me to do good like this one did. I was just talking about that. It recaptured why I felt so drawn to early MCU movies as a kid. Yeah, I agree. There's a magic in it. Like, this movie is not The Dark Knight. It doesn't try to be The Dark Knight. This movie is not Man of Steel. It doesn't try to be Man of Steel. It's a movie that's trying to capture something else. And that thing it's trying to capture, it captures and it delivers. And like so many people online are trying to make this like a Man of Steel versus Superman thing. Like I love both. Like obviously I got Henry over here. You guys know how I feel about Man of Steel. I love both. They're completely different from each other. I love both and I think they're both great. All right. Let's see. Al writes, I love how these weren't just musical cues from John Williams. I also heard a few from Hans Zimmer, such as in the opening text. You know what? First of all, I'm a big fan of What Are You Going to Do When You're Not Saving the World? I have to admit, I didn't recognize the Hans Zimmer notes, like the Man of Steel Hans Zimmer notes. If you can tell me where, I'd be really interested in that because I love Hans Zimmer's score to Man of Steel. Absolutely love it. And yes, whenever they had the littles, bum, 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 like, oh God, it totally moved me. All right. Next up, Wayne writes, love the movie. The whole Bavaria or Bravaria, whatever it is, versus Yonanapur, I never pronounce it right, subplot seems so timely with our world. Can't wait to rewatch. Yeah, and remember he wrote this movie years ago. Like the script for this movie was done years ago. I mean, he did some touch-ups on it. But yes, even though there were a lot of things written in the script prior to certain things going on in our culture today, it was actually written before some of those things ever happened, and which kind of almost makes it prophetic a little bit. But yes, I do think there's a lot in the movie that I think this is a very timely movie. I think it's a movie we need right now, to be honest with you, which is one of the reasons why I like it so much. All right. Next up, Mike Hill writes, evening, John, amazing film. I have to wonder if the Jor-El message will be addressed in future movies, that it was tampered with maybe by a Brainiac setup, or do you think Jor-El is bad in this universe? That is a really big topic for discussion, because I know there are some people who are very, very upset that they did something a little bit different with Jor-El. I have two thoughts. My first and primary thought is that in a future installment of the DCU, that will be revealed as a fake. Like, I get it. Mr. Terrific said, it doesn't matter what Mr. Terrific said. That is way advanced Kryptonian technology, way beyond any human Earth technology, even sci-fi Earth technology. And whether it's a Brainiac or whether it's Zod or whether it's whatever, I have a strong suspicion somewhere down the line, we're going to find out that that was indeed tampered with. I don't think it's a coincidence that the message that wasn't damaged was immediately cut off before the tone of the message changed. Okay, so there's that. However, I'm not opposed to James Gunn changing that part of the lore a little bit. Look. You can cry about it all you want. And I certainly have some things that I cry about. So you can cry about this thing all you want. But the reality is, how important is Jor-El? He's in like 3 minutes of the movie. Even in the original Christopher Reeve, Marlon Brando is in like less than 5 minutes of the film. I mean, I didn't time it, but it feels like less than 5 minutes of the film. Jor-El is at best a super minor background character, a character that has massive implications. Of course, he's the father of Kal-El, of course so, but I'm talking about from a movie experiential point of view. He is a minor bit character. And if James Gunn decided, let's play with that a little bit, let's change the lore in that a little bit. Again, I think they are going to say it was tampered with later on. That's what I actually think they're going to do. I'm just simply saying, if they don't do that, and they maintain, no, like as Kryptonians, like they love their son and they actually think it's what's best for all the other planets if Krypton's truth rules over them. I think that would be an interesting twist on the existing lore. Is it what I would do? Probably not. And I don't think that's what James Gunn is doing. Again, I think we're going to find out later on in the DCU that was tampered with. Maybe not by Lex. I think Lex legitimately thinks he found the smoking gun, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if we later find out that message was messed with by somebody else. Again, whether it's a Brainiac or somebody else. But if it's not, I'm okay with it. It's such a minor character that appears in the film such a short amount of time and is really an afterthought most of the time. So, I don't know. Again, I don't think it is what it appears to be. But if it is, I'd be interested to see what they're going to do with it. Anyway, that's just me. All right. Thanks, Mike. Next up, Sam Fisher writes, I loved this movie so much. I love the hope and optimism and earnestness of it all. I want to see this movie again, and I want to see more of Clark. Yeah, again, Sam, I went to go see it 3 times already. I might even go see it later tonight. Like it's 3:45 here. Maybe later tonight, Ann and I might go out and see it again. Like that's how much we like watching it. It's just such a fun, entertaining movie. Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, Taki75 writes, I knew it would be a good movie as soon as I saw the negative Armand White review. Added bonus that he revealed himself as a Snyder boy. Well, no, Armand White is just a complete contrarian. I mean, like he revealed it himself long ago. I didn't even know he was even still around at all. All right. Taki also writes, LOL, Guy Gardner is such a dick. I loved all 3 members of the Justice Gang. I loved Guy Gardner. I loved Hawk Girl. Like that moment, like first, I just love her attitude, but that moment when she captures the president of Bavaria, or however you pronounce the name of the country. And I love, very true to the character. It's like, you won't kill me, you're no good, they're like Superman. Yeah, I'm not like Superman. And kills the guy. Like, straight up, not self-defense, not it was him or me, not, oh, he's about to kill somebody, I need to stop him, and the only way to stop him is by killing him. No. Oh dear, no. See, you know what Hawk Girl did? She flew into the presidential palace with murder on her mind. She specifically just went in there to kill a fool. And she grabs him and doesn't even have like the empathy to just bash him quick over the head with her mallet and give him a quick thing. No. She flies in there specifically with the intent to kill a fool. She takes him and then tortures him by flying him on the, no. See, I'm not Superman. I'm going to drop you and give you like 20 seconds of terror as you know you're falling to your death. Just straight up murdered him. And if you know Hawk Girl, that's kind of what she might do. And so I kind of loved that she did. I love that moment in the film when she kills the guy. It's something Superman would never do, but as she points out, I ain't Superman. And I admit I questioned having Mr. Terrific in the movie. First of all, I hated nothing against the actor, but I hated the iteration of Mr. Terrific in the Arrowverse. But oh my God, Mr. Terrific was a revelation in this movie. He was so good. He was so, I could have seen 5 more scenes with Mr. Terrific. I could have watched 5 more minutes of just Terrific, Guy Gardner, and Hawkgirl interacting with each other, arguing, I don't know, over what cereal to buy next to keep in the Hall of Justice. I could have totally watched that. I loved them together. I thought they were great. And particularly really, really liked Mr. Terrific. And I didn't think I would. I really didn't think I would. Anyway, next up, Takio says, you can't make anyone a Superman film without using John Williams' theme. It has become an integral part of the character's DNA, like his suit. Here's the thing. I did not agree with that. Like, I remember leading into Superman, like even conversations like a year ago. Do you think they'll use the John Williams score? And I'm like, nah, come up with your own score. This is a new version of Superman. Have a new version of the music, much like Hans Zimmer did. But here's what happened. And I don't want you to, this is significant. By using the score the way James Gunn did, it is now official. Whenever you do Superman, you're going to have notes of that score. By James Gunn using that in this now, you have cemented that score with being synonymous with the character now. I didn't think they needed to do it. I didn't think it was that before, but now that James Gunn has done it, I think you're right. I think moving forward, in almost any iteration of Superman, you're at least going to have to, you don't have to have the whole theme, but you're going to at least have to have the notes. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Like, you're at least going to have those notes. That's now part of it. That's completely now an integral part of the DNA of Superman now, because it was in this movie. Anyway. All right. Next up, we got HV3 writes, I can't wait for this movie to hit 999 million and still hear you say it won't hit $1 billion because of all the baggage. LOL. You are, listen, guys, listen. Okay. Are you listening? Listening? All right. Because this is important. I need you to listen. There are 3 things I said about this Superman movie. Okay. 3 things I said about it. The first thing I said was, this movie is going to end up with an 82% critic rating. Remember that? The second thing I said, when Superman was at 96% audience rating, I said that's too high. It's not going to be able to maintain it. I said it's going to drop a little bit, but it'll stay above 90. Okay. And here we are. Critic rating, 82%. And the audience rating, now with over 10,000 verified ratings, has dropped a little bit from 96, but stayed above 93, or stayed above 90, in 93. It might go up 1 point. It might go down another point, but it's going to stay above 90. So, but the third thing, and most importantly, that I have said all year, I've said for over a year about this. Oh, by the way, what did I say on the show this week? I said Superman's going to open somewhere between 110, 130, probably right around the $120 million range. Remember I said that on the show? Remember I said that? He said, John, it's going to open to a 200 million. I mean, I hoped it would. That would be awesome. But I said, this is going to open right around 120. The official opening weekend, 122 million. Third biggest opening of the year. Biggest opening, I believe, for James Gunn movie. Broke the Thursday records for the year. It's great, but I've been telling people for well over a year, there is a ceiling on this Superman movie, regardless of how good it is. I've been saying this for over a year, and nobody's wanted to believe me. I said there is a ceiling of how high it can go at the box office because too many people have abandoned the DCU. And the real work of Superman is not to make money, although that would be great. The real work of Superman, you guys know this, I've been saying it all year, is to rehabilitate the image of DC so that the future DC movies can all do much better. I've been saying it for over a year. And I've told you guys, look, can it get 600 million? Yeah. But I've said all year, $1 billion is completely unrealistic for this movie because of the state and the general perception of the DC thing and the fact that the movie-going audience has completely abandoned the DCU. I've been saying it for over a year. And I think this opening shows that this movie will be successful, but it is, as I've been saying all year, it is not going to be this big runaway box office juggernaut. You know, even when we did this story a few weeks ago, when they were saying that when Box Office Pro was saying that projections for Superman was 130 to 170, and like we were talking about, I said, this would be great. But I said, but I just don't see it doing that. I just don't see it doing that. I would like to see it do it, obviously, but I just don't see it doing that. And so, no, this movie will not hit $1 billion. I mean, I would love it if it did, but it's just not. Now, future installments may, because of the rehabilitation, that the work that this movie is doing may set up for future bigger success. But I've been saying it all the time. I've been saying it all the time. And this is where we are. Anyway. All right. Next star. Thanks for that, HG3. Wayne writes, would you say this is your favorite Superman movie? No, I'm not ready to say that. I think right now, again, it's kind of like how Thunderbolts, I need more time to ruminate on this Superman movie. I'm not one who watches a movie once and go, this is the best movie ever. I need to live with it for a few weeks or months. You know what I mean? So kind of in the same way that I'll say that as of right now, Thunderbolts is still my favorite comic book movie of the year. Although that might change in a few weeks. I might change my mind to Superman, but for now I'm sticking with Thunderbolts. And today, if I had to answer the question, what is my favorite Superman movie? If I had to answer that today, I'm still going to say Man of Steel. I'm still going to say Man of Steel. I love them both, but right now, in a month, will I change my answer to Superman once I've lived with it longer? Maybe. But if I had to answer it today, I would still say Man of Steel. Again, they're two totally different movies, and I passionately love them both. But yeah, ask me that again in a month. Ask me again in a month. All right. Next up, Sam Fisher writes, I'm so happy that the earnestness and hope in this movie gives it such a different feel than Guardians, which is full of snark and sarcasm. Hey, listen, there's still some snark and sarcasm in this movie, right? Like you still got your Mr. Terrific lines, and you still got your Hawk Girl lines, and you still got your Guy Gardner lines and stuff like that. So there's this, and I always want that to be a part of a James Gunn movie. But yes, it is. While you could tell it comes from the same filmmaker of Guardians of the Galaxy, it is also quite different from Guardians of the Galaxy, but it still maintains a little bit of that DNA, and I'm not mad at that at all. I really like the fact that they do that. All right, Taki writes, Pruitt Taylor Vince is such a Papa Bear figure. Oh, he's the guy who plays Pa Kent. Yeah. You know what? I remember loving that casting. When they announced that he was going to be Pa Kent, I'm like, yeah, like a totally different feel than John Schneider in Smallville, totally different feel than Kevin Costner in Man of Steel. But I'm like, something feels really good about him being Pa Kent, and I really liked him in the movie. All right, Luis Blanco writes, going in, I was skeptical. Trailers weren't really doing it for me. I walked out amazed. Holt did well, making me hate Lex, and Brosnahan is Lois Lane. Listen, I'll tell you what. I love Man of Steel. All right, I love that movie. And I love Amy Adams. She is one of our generation's truly best actors, male or female. She is truly one of our generation's greats. She's amazing. And I love Man of Steel. That said, I don't know that Amy Adams was necessarily the right fit for Lois Lane. And I'm not really sure that the chemistry between Henry Cavill and Amy Adams was all that sharp. And I say this as a movie. I love this movie. But I'm just not sure that she was the right fit. And I'm just not sure that her and Henry Cavill had the best chemistry. That is totally different with Rachel Brosnahan. Rachel Brosnahan is the most perfect casting for Lois Lane since Margot Kidder. She was perfect as Lois Lane. And the chemistry between her and David Corn Sweat was wonderful. Like, you really felt it. And again, I love Man of Steel. I might even like it more than Superman. But that was one of the weaknesses of the film, is that I never felt Amy was quite the right person to play that role. And I never really felt the chemistry between Henry and Amy. Totally different story with David and Rachel. Totally different story with David and Rachel. They had fantastic chemistry, both when they were in love with each other and when they were bickering with each other. I loved it. I love that part of it. And a lot of that has to do with Rachel. Of course, she's an award-winning actress. Of course, she's going to kill it. But I mean, Amy Adams is the better actress. I mean, she's multiple Oscar nominated. Like, Amy Adams is the better overall actress, even though Rachel Brosnahan is an award-winning actress herself. But Rachel is such a better fit for Lois. And they really, really, really killed it with that. All right. Thanks for that, Lewis. Next up, Alan S. writes, hope you're having a great weekend, John. I am. Thank you very much. On your second viewing, were there any scenes where you were excited to hear how the crowd might react? Oh, yes. Yes. So one of the big ones I like on my second and third viewing is when Clark wakes up in his room and the camera pans over and you see that Crypto is laying on his chest. Every time, again, maybe this was different in your movie theater. I can only speak for the movie theaters I was in. But every time when people see that Crypto's laying on his chest waiting for him to wake up, it's always, ah, like through the whole thing. It's great. Also, the audience reaction when Gary says, your cousin has returned. And then it pans over and you see Supergirl come in. That's a great moment as well. What's another one that I really like? Oh, there are several of them. A lot of them have to do with Crypto, which, by the way, again, I said this in my out of theater reaction, but I will say it again here. I fully confess I was a hater of the idea of putting Crypto in the movie. When they first announced that Crypto was going to be in the movie, and I was excited for the movie, but when they first announced they were putting Crypto in the movie, I said, should you though? Is this a bridge too far? Like, it's fine to have, the super dog in the comic books, and it's fine to have it in a cartoon, but can you do it in a live action? I said, that might be too much. And I didn't think it was a good idea. I fully admit it. And it was awesome. Crypto was great. I loved every moment. Like, even the part where Lois gets in the T-Craft and she gets in the pilot seat and Crypto just jumps up on her lap. It's like, that is totally my dog, Dune. Dune will just jump up in your lap. It's like, It's like, dog, you're in my way. Dog doesn't care. Dog doesn't care that it's in your way. Just do. Yeah, Crypto ended up being awesome. All right. Junior Hulk writes, James Gunn's Superman 2025 is thrilling and heartfelt. Superman shines and the world feels rich with potential. We need more. Give us the 4-hour, 2-minute gun cut. This universe deserves it. No, like even I like that it's not a 3-hour movie, right? I think it's close to its ideal runtime. I just feel like it should have been like 10 minutes longer, maybe 15. There's like 4 or 5 spots in the film that I would have peppered an extra 1 or 2 or maybe 3 minutes for a grand total of an extra 10 to 15 minutes in the movie. I don't think I would have wanted this movie to be 2.5 hours long or 3 hours long, but I tell you what, I am looking forward to whatever they do next. And I'm really looking forward to Supergirl now. All right. Ellen S. also writes, I love the Supergirl scene. She seems like such a fun character. It made me hyped for her movie. Do you think Superman will show up for a cameo? I'm going to guess yes. I mean, they're going to want to make sure it stays Supergirl's movie, so you don't want much Superman in it. But I'm going to guess yes. I'm going to guess that Superman pops up in it. That'll be my guess. And I loved her appearance in it. I loved it. Because, I mean, if you've read Woman of Tomorrow, I think in a very side-loading kind of way, it perfectly kind of sets up that Supergirl, if you've read Woman of Tomorrow. So yeah, I just thought she was great. Where's my dog? And then Crypto's so excited. It's like, you can see why it has behavioral problems. Like, you instantly also see the differences between Kal-El and Kara, which I love. And then she just, why'd you move the door? I didn't move the door. Your cousin has returned. I love her appearance in it. I really do. All right. Next up, Amin writes, during the city evacuation scene, there was a sign on the highway that read, Gotham City, keep left. Oh, I didn't notice that. Did any of the rest of you guys see that? I did not. You know what I thought at first? You know the scene where Jimmy is walking down the dark alley going to meet Eve? And Jimmy's wearing a ball cap. At first, I thought that was a bat emblem. I thought it was the Batman logo on the hat. But once he stepped into the light a little bit more, you could tell it totally wasn't. Like, it was totally something completely different. But at first, I kind of thought it might have been the Batman logo, but it was not. But I did not see that. I will look for that next time to see the little Gotham shout out. All right. Next up. By the way, somebody just said in the live chat, But why would you go to Gotham? That's a very good point, Tim. Why would anybody in the DC universe go to Gotham? Anyway, oh, crap. Sorry, I just completely lost my spot. Give me a moment. Oh dear, did I? Oh no. Oh no, I may have just lost. Give me a second here. Did I just lose? Did YouTube just F up and lose all the super chats? Hold on a second. I'm sorry. I'm kind of freaking out right now. Give me a quick moment here. Give me a second. Maybe not. Oh no, I got it. It's back. Woo! Okay. Okay, it's back. Oh, okay, good. Let's see. Where did we leave off? There was Sam Fisher, Taki Wayne. Is this your Superman movie? Pruitt, Alan S. James Gunn series Thrilling. We did that one. Alan, Amin. Okay, the evacuation. There we go. All right. Now, Dylan writes, I don't believe in superhero fatigue. I believe in mediocre movie fatigue. James Gunn in a recent GQ video. I think he stole your line, John. Damn right he did. My buddy sent me. Okay. It's not just me, right? It's not just me. So you guys know I coined a phrase a while ago. In response to, it had to be like over a year, maybe 2 years ago, I coined a phrase when people was talking about superhero movie fatigue, and I contend, and I think statistics have proved it's true, that there is no such thing as comic book movie fatigue. There is mediocre movie fatigue. There's mediocrity fatigue. And I said, and I always say, it's not a coincidence that just as superhero movies aren't being as consistently good as they used to be is when people are starting to lose interest. That's not a coincidence. It's not superhero movie fatigue. It's mediocre movie fatigue. So anyway, so then my buddy, my business manager, sends me this interview clip with James Gunn. You tell me James Gunn didn't get this from me. Where somebody asked him, well, what do you think about comic book movie fatigue? This is just a new interview. And James Gunn says, well, I don't believe there is comic book movie fatigue. I believe there's mediocre movie fatigue. I'm like, you son of a bitch. You dirty son of a bitch. Stealing my line. I mean, come on. He had to have gotten that from me, right? He had to have gotten, the wording was just too bang on exactly the way I always say it. Not that I care, but I thought, holy shit. So my business manager saw that and he clipped it out and sent it to me. I'm like, you son of a bitch, James Gunn. Anyway, yeah, but I no, in all honesty, I think it's very cool that he said that. And he's very right to say that. Anyway, okay, let's keep going here. Next up, we have, who was that? That was Dylan. Thanks for sharing that, Dylan. Dylan also writes, of all the great scenes, I think my favorite is the last one. Clark laying there watching home movies of his parents with punk rocker playing. Again, I think part of the genius of that scene is Clark himself embracing his own humanity. Because remember, up until that point, he'd really tied more of his identity up in who his birth parents are. He's put everything and weighed everything on that message his parents sent with him. But what really matters is these two people, John and Martha Kent. Why did you say that name? John and Martha Kent, who, even though he's not their kid, they took him in and adopted him and loved him and raised him as their own. Big mush. And they are really the reason that he became who he was. Not what Jor-El did or said, but because of who Jonathan and Martha Kent are, is why Superman is the way he is. And then ending that at the end there with that, looking at footage of them, I thought that was really, really special, man. I really did. All right. Next up, we got Amin, who writes, 1 of 3, really enjoyed the film. It's clear the biggest complaints stem from the breakneck pace. Yeah, I agree. And how overstuffed it feels at times. I never felt it felt overstuffed. I just felt they didn't give some things enough time to breathe. Would have helped, but the real issues lies in the script, in my opinion. Gunn went a bit too comic booky at times, which might overwhelm casual viewers, especially for a first film. My mom definitely felt that way during the Pocket Universe stuff. A more focused, tighter story would have been perfect, in my opinion. I disagree. Now, first of all, you just have to acknowledge that there is no way you can make a Superman movie that would appeal to everybody. Man of Steel is a great example of that. I think Man of Steel is a masterpiece of the comic book genre, but a whole shit ton of people don't like it. There is no way to make a Superman movie that everybody is going to like. Everybody will have a different interpretation of the way it should be handled and blah, blah, blah. But 93% seem to like it. 93% of the audience and 82% of the critics seem to like it. There is nothing you can do to make that number 100%. There's nothing you can do to make that number 100%. Not with a Superman movie. There's no way. Everybody will have different thoughts and opinions about how it should be done. And if you don't do it that way, then I hate it. That's just the way we are. Like, I include myself in that. We are very finicky that way. So I personally did feel the way he handled it was just right. Was just right. I thought the way he handled it was just perfect. Again, it's not a perfect movie overall, but I think his approach was the right approach today, because not only was it bright and hopeful and all that kind of stuff, but it's also it distinguishes itself apart from Man of Steel. And I think that's important to make it very distinctly Superman and yet very distinctly different from Man of Steel. And again, I say that as a lover of both of the films, but I thought that was an important thing to do. And I thought it was mission accomplished to me, and I got to admit for myself. But again, that means it's not going to work for everybody, of course, like maybe your mom. But for me, I thought it was the perfect approach. All right, Alex sends in a $50 super chat. Thank you, Alex, for supporting us on that level, man. That's incredibly generous of you, dude. And Alex writes, what did you think of the human speech Superman gave? Oh, to Lex? I thought it was great. It was powerful. I know all film is subjective, but it bothered me that my coworkers said they ruined Superman because he shouldn't want human characteristics because he's an alien. Hashtag super shit. I think that's the whole point of the James Gunn iteration of Superman, is really understanding Kal-El, the Man of Tomorrow, the last son of Krypton, the Man of Steel, an alien immigrant from another world come to Earth. That's what makes him powerful. What makes him special is that he's just a better person than most people. And that's the true specialness of Superman. Isn't that he can lift mountains, and isn't that he has laser eyes, and isn't that he can fly, and isn't that he can tear saran wrap off of his S and capture people in it, if you know what I mean. What makes Superman truly special is that he's a better human being, the kind of human being that we can aspire to be. And that's what makes him really special. And that's what I love about it at the end. Like he emphasizes the human parts of his aspect. Yes, he's bulletproof. Yes, he can lift kaiju. Yes, he can do all that kind of stuff. But I get scared. I make mistakes. But every day I get up and I just do the best that I can. And I make the best decisions that I can. And I put one foot in front of the other. And that to me is what makes him truly special. That's the defining thing about the character. That is highlighted in that scene of, yeah, he's not even a very good dog, but he's alone and he's probably scared. Like that's the thing about him. That's what makes him the greatest of all the superheroes. Whatever, in my opinion, at any rate. All right. Thanks for that, Alex. And again, Alex, thank you for supporting us on that level, man. Really appreciate that, dude. By the way, guys, I'm going to be turning off the super chats here in just a minute because I don't know how I'm going to be able to get through this show in 3 hours. And I hope not to have to do a companion video to answer the rest of them, but I might have to. So you've got a couple of more minutes. If you have a thought or a question you want to throw in, you can go ahead and do that. But just so you know, I am going to have to turn off the super chats here in just a minute or two. Anyway, okay, let's get back to it here. Let's see. Alex writes, again, Supergirl looks great. Love her suit. I'm assuming the Woman of Tomorrow storyline is why she acted drunk. Again, if you know the Woman of Tomorrow storyline, you can see how that easily sideloads into it. And I just thought it was great. Now here's the question I have, though. Here's the question I have. Superman says she sometimes goes to other planets to party that have yellow or have red suns because there she's able to get drunk. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. But she's on Earth right now. She's under a yellow sun right now. Oh, and by the way, it takes some time to get away from the red suns. So she would have been separated from the red suns for a while. I'm just saying. I'm just saying is all. Yeah, I just, that one thing, they should have had something in there to explain why she's still drunk. Because from what I can tell, she's standing on a planet with the yellow sun, so that should burn any of the alcohol out of her system. But, well, whatever. All right. Let's see here. Next up, hold a second. I'm having a little technical problem here. All good. All right. Next up, we've got Veg Burger writes, message of kindness, more like violent retribution. Oh, if you're talking about Hot Girl, yes. Hot Girl was definitely a scenario of violent retribution. Not Superman though. Like Superman himself didn't ever go about doing any violent retribution. Crypto did though. Oh yeah. Crypto. That is it just me? Did anybody else get flashbacks to Hulk and Loki when Lex is starting to monologue to Superman, you idiot, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, just as he's mid-sentence, Crypto comes flying in and starts bashing him all over the place. That gave me flashbacks to Loki. You know, you doe, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, Hulk just grabs him and starts smashing him around. I had great flashbacks of that. Anyway, okay. Give me a second here because I am now turning off super chats because I'm never going to get through all of them as it is. Give me a second here. Man, we've already been going an hour and 20 minutes on this stream. Okay, let's get back to it. Next up, we've got Alex who writes, Love the twist at the end that showed the compilation of Mom and Pa Kent were his true parents and not the messages that his biological parents sent. Yeah. And again, it also takes away, it kind of addresses the issue of nature versus nurture and free will versus destiny. Because like for a long time, Superman, and this is why his conversation with Pa Kent was so key. Superman was driven by that message. Is that message that Jor-El sent? That is what defines me. That's why I do what I do. Destiny. Programming. What Pa Kent explains to him is, no, man, like you wanting the second half of the message to say something else than what it really did speaks to your character. And it's your choices and your actions that make you who you are, not some message from your biological dad that you never met. That's what makes, and then he realizes he is who he is more because of Jonathan and Martha Kent than of any pre-recorded message on an iPhone that got sent in his space capsule, right? And that's part of the magic of that to me. All right. Next up, Sam Fisher writes, one of two. I will say my one complaint about this movie is I wish we saw Clark being an actual investigative reporter instead of just seeing his front page article. In fact, except for that first scene with Jimmy and Eve, it feels like we are told about the investigative reporting, not really shown it. Okay, I agree with you that we weren't really shown Clark being an investigative reporter. But I would disagree that we needed time seeing him do that. Like, how would that have, I'm not sure how that would have served the movie. And by the way, how do we see him being remember, what's the story he's covering? Superman. Not a lot of investigative reporting needed to be done to write a story about himself. Right? And that's the whole point of the ethical question that Lois brings up to him is like, there's an ethical problem here of you making up interviews with yourself. Again, Superman's not perfect. There's ethical questions here about doing that. So while I think maybe in future movies, they could touch on that, I don't really see how that would have served the movie other than just been something to be in the movie for the sake of it. I'm not really sure how that would further the story or further the movie. And again, considering his article was about himself, I don't know how that would have spoken to his investigative journalism, but that's just me. All right. Let's see. Dad Jokes writes, I struggled with the fact that people are going about their day like normal when something outside has the potential to kill them or the city. It pulled me out of the movie. Is death not a fear? See, to me, that was something that was brilliant about it. Remember, the movie starts saying metahumans have been a thing. Superpowered individuals, giant monsters, gods and monsters have been a thing for 300 years. And sure, like, yeah, when the kaiju's there is getting really close, well, then people run down the street. But when they're off to the side, like the guy in the shop, he's just sitting there sipping on his drink, watching it, because you know what they call that in the DC universe? Tuesday. They call it Tuesday in the DC universe. It's kind of becoming a thing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well. That world is just accustomed to this. So yes, when they're about to get stepped on, they scream in terror and run down the street, or they see a break in the fabric of space and reality with a black hole splitting the city. Yeah, they're running and they're scared for sure. But if they're standing off to the side of it, they're kind of looking at it with interest, but not all that big of a deal. Because in this universe, it happens frequently. Hell, even when Superman goes back to his own apartment, out his window, the Justice Gang are fighting an interdimensional imp. That would be, but they see it all the time. That's why Superman's like, oh, yeah, they got that. Yeah. Oh, that's just an interdimensional imp. They got that. So the fact that some people don't overreact to it And again, there were some people yelling and screaming and running, but the fact that it showed some people not really reacting to it that much speaks to the truth of that world, that this type of thing is not all that uncommon, and they're a little bit used to it. All right. Next up, Ishmael writes, "Hey, John, I love Superman. I felt Gunn established an anchor with this film. For example, Pa and Ma Kent are so foundational. They're not Kevin Costner famous, but their presence gave me real hope." I see, again, that was the point of it, Ishmael, right? To establish this new universe, to start the rehabilitation of DC's image with the movie-going audience that had been totally destroyed, and to lay the groundwork for where they're going to go. And here's the thing now. When either Pa or Ma Kent die, I'm glad one of them didn't die in this movie. I'm glad neither of them died in this movie, because it would have lacked some of the emotional hook. Now that we've got to know them, and now that we've got to see them in his best of hits thing at the end, with the music playing and him looking at them so joyously, when one of them dies later in the DCU, it's going to hit us harder now. It's going to hit us harder. It really will. All right. Thanks for that, Ismail. Next up, Christopher Brickner writes, "I bet Supergirl being a drunk party girl is actually her coping mechanism for dealing with the trauma of losing everybody she knew and loved." Yeah, because like, that's a very key thing. Clark never knew Krypton, right? Clark never knew Krypton. All he's really known is Earth. All he's known is Ma and Pa Kent. All he's known is Kansas and Smallville and Metropolis. That's his whole reality. His only connection to Krypton is some damaged recording. Well, obviously it's the Fortress of Solitude, but the technology he has, but that's all secondhand. Like, it's after the fact. His world's destroyed. He's never known it. But Kara is different. Kara lost everything she ever knew. She lost her family that she knew. She lost her friends that she knew. She lost her home that she actually grew up on. It's something that I really do hope they address. Because in reality, she would be way more messed up than Clark, who just, this world is all he's ever known. He doesn't know what he's lost because he didn't lose it. It was never part of his life. Both Kara, it's different. And I do hope you're right about that. I do hope they touch on that as they go into the movie. All right. Let's see here. Amin writes, "I know it's comic accurate, but the evil clone villain trope always feels like a cop-out to me. Thankfully, Ultraman wasn't too OP and was used sparingly, but I wish they went in a different direction." But here's why. Look, again, with Superman as the world's most powerful metahuman, you have to present for the audience an actual challenge. Otherwise, nothing is interesting, right? Otherwise, it's just the end of Superman 2 where Clark walks back into the diner to beat up the trucker who hurt him. It's like there's no challenge. So it's always with Superman a challenge to come up with something that is an actual obstacle to him. The idea of Ultraman, something that Lex himself could create. And please, let's not talk about Nuclear Man from, what is it? What was that? Superman 4, Quest for Peace? Yeah, let's not go there. Now, in the comics, Ultraman, they've handled him in different times and in different ways. But in the comics, Ultraman is actually from a different universe. He's from another universe where the Justice League is actually evil. And he still looks like Superman, but he has a big U on his chest. And I think they call themselves, instead of calling themselves the Justice League, they call themselves the Crime Syndicate. I think that's what they call them. Correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat, if I'm getting that part wrong. But I think they call them the crime syndicate. So anyway, so for them to come up with something like that for this, because I don't think this was the movie to bring in Brainiac. I think Brainiac is something you need to build up to, but also for the average film goer, I think Brainiac is something you need to build up to a little bit to get the average audience more in tune with comic booky kind of movies and stuff like that. Because I think if you just come right out of a gate with a Brainiac, or if you just come right out of a gate with Doomsday, or if you just come right out of the gate with something along those lines, I thought an Ultraman thing made sense for the story and something that Lex could actually create and replicate, and perfectly explains why the most powerful metahuman in the world is actually running into something that is quite a difficult challenge for him. Well, because it's his own genetic clone. So I thought it was, I mean, are there other approaches they could have taken? Yeah. But I thought this was one of the valid ones. And I personally think it worked. But I totally see where you're coming from, because maybe they could have done it a little bit differently. All right. Next up. My buddy Kevin Rubio writes, the film embraces its source material. By the way, Kevin is himself a comic book writer. Anyway, the film embraces its source material unlike any other superhero movie in the past, not out of allegiance or fan service, but passion for the medium and a mastery of storytelling. I completely agree. Like, I don't think we've ever had a filmmaker make a comic book movie who is as knowledgeable and is as passionately in love with the original source material like James Gunn is. Now that doesn't mean automatically means he'll make the best movies, but you could tell it comes through. This guy passionately loves Superman. He loves Superman, and he loves the lore of Superman, and he's intimately familiar with all the history and the lore of Superman. And I think you're right, Kev. I think that is one of the things that really shines through. And I think that's one of the things that really makes the movie special to me. So anyway, all right. Let's keep going here. Next up, we've got Christopher Brickner writes, nitpick, but I prefer the name LexCorp to Luthor Corps. Yeah. But I mean, Luthor Corps makes way more sense. It makes way more sense, especially if they say establishes from his family. I don't know if they'll ever get into Luthor's parents or anything like that, but like, you don't name something John this. No, it would be Campia something. It would be, that's the more intuitive naming thing. So I think I'm okay with the Luthor Corps naming. I would have been totally good too if they stuck with LexCorp, by the way, but I think Luthor Corp makes more sense. But I totally see where you're coming from, and I don't completely disagree with you either. All right. Sam Fisher writes, I was kind of hoping for a moment where somebody compliments Superman's costume and Clark goes, thanks, my mom made it for me, but alas, no such luck. No. That's a Superman and Lois thing. And that was a great little moment in Superman and Lois. But I'm glad you brought that up, because as we go back to my nitpicks of Superman, let me add a fifth one. All right. I don't like the costume. I'm sorry, guys. I don't like the costume. I like the fact that, let me rephrase. I really hate the red underwear. Okay. I really hate the red underwear. I said before we ever got our first look at the costume, I just hope they don't bring back the red underwear. I said from the first day that we saw the shot that I hate the red underwear. I really do appreciate that every element of Superman's costume is directly taken from different iterations of the Superman costume in the comic books. I do like that. I like that very much. But I really hate the red underwear, guys. I thought maybe I would get used to it again, but it just looks silly to me. Almost everything else about the costume I like. I like the emblem. I like the neckline. I like the cape. I like the piping. I like the cut of it. I really do. Like, again, every single element on that costume comes directly from the comic books in one form or another. But I just don't like the red underwear. I just really don't like the red underwear, guys. It's not growing on me. Anyway, next up, Big Cookie sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Big Cookie, for supporting us on that level, man. And Big Cookie writes, we often talk about Marvel's problem of killing off their villains, which is true, killing off their villains. One thing I loved about this movie is how the final moments felt like Superman had just won a battle against Lex, but the war had really just begun. Oh, absolutely. And you know what? There's a moment, no dialogue. There's a moment where they're standing in Lex's command room thing, and Superman has now won. The news reports have gone out that Lex is a traitor, and he's been working with Barovia, or however you pronounce the name of the country, and he's beaten. He's beaten. His plans have been defeated. He is a beaten man. He failed. And James Gunn decides to do this tight close-up shot of Lex's face. And it starts with his eyes down. And he realizes he's beaten. He's bruised and cut from Krypto's attack. And without any dialogue, he just looks up. And he's kind of staring at the camera, because he's staring at Superman, but he's looking directly into the camera. And dude, the rage, even a tear coming out of his eyes, the rage, you're 100% right. That moment gave you the, oh, this is just the beginning kind of feel to it, right? Like, this is just the beginning. Yeah, it was a great moment. Big Cookie, 100%. I loved that. I'm glad you pointed it out. Thanks again, man. I appreciate that very much, dude. All right, Emmanuel Yu writes, well, I'm a punk rocker. Yes, I am. Again, I'm not even going to tell you how many times Iggy Pop's voice has been screaming out in my living room over the past 72 hours. Alex Von Gollum writes, one of two. Jor-El wanting Superman to dominate humanity didn't sit well with me at first. However, it was a ballsy, bold move by Gunn to bring an extraterrestrial crisis to him that he needed to overcome. This event evolved the tone of the movie, now going deeper into Clark's character growth. Again, look, I said this a little bit earlier in the broadcast. I'll say it again now. Ultimately, I think we're going to find out, again, whether it's Brainiac or some interference back on Krypton or something, that the second half of that thing was doctored. I don't care what human Earth scientists say. Krypton technology is way beyond them. So I believe ultimately we will find out that that message was altered. That being said, if they stick with it, I agree. It is a small secondary character, but it gives us a new appreciation for Clark, and Clark a new appreciation for his actual humanity. And I thought it was really gutsy to do it. Now look, one of the positive things I said about the Twilight movies? John, why are you talking about Twilight when we're talking about Superman? You'll see what I mean. One of the positive things I said about the Twilight movies is for those of you guys who've watched me for a really long time, you guys will remember me saying this. I kind of appreciate it when a filmmaker or a story is willing to play around a little bit with established, standardized lore a bit. So, like, one of the interesting things in Twilight is that, yeah, all vampires are strong and all vampires are fast. Yeah, but they threw in some twists on standard accepted lore about vampires, and they turned it on its head a little bit. For example, being in sunlight doesn't make them burst into flames, but rather it exposes them because their skin starts to glitter and stuff like that. So they get revealed if they're in the sunlight. I like the fact that they played around a little bit with the idea that each vampire is kind of like an X-Man, in the sense that each vampire has there's a standard set of vampire abilities, but then each vampire has their own unique gifts, their own unique powers to them. And so, well, the Twilight movies are the Twilight movies. I said, give respect where it's due. I kind of like it. when a filmmaker isn't afraid to play around and take some liberties with some established, accepted lore. And I believe that is true here. Again, I think we're going to find out the footage was doctored. But even if it's not, I like that James Gunn is being willing to at least take some element of the age-old Superman lore and play with it a bit and maybe turn it on its head a little bit. And if that's what they do, and it turns out that the footage wasn't doctored, and I think it will be, but let's say if it wasn't, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. And I'll be interested to see where they go with it. Anyway, Marcus Y, where is it? There it is. Marcus Y saying romance is one of their powers. Yes, Marcus, romance is one of their powers. All right. Let's see here. Next up, we got John K who writes, I don't know if you ever saw, but most of the plot leaking months ago, I read it at the time and I hated the Jor-El twist, but in context, I mostly liked it. Again, I was just talking about that. I think it's again, I don't think, listen, Superman is like what now, 80 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old since a Canadian born kid created him. 70, 80, 90, I can't remember. How old is Superman now, guys? Anyway, I don't think you always have to treat everything like it's sacrosanct. You don't, like, if you're making new iterations of characters, I believe you should be able to take some of the more established stuff and play with it a little bit. Do something different. And I kind of liked that they're doing that here. I really kind of do. I think it's going to turn out that the footage is doctored, but if they don't, I like it. I applaud it. Some people are scared of that stuff, but I think it's pretty great. All right. John K writes, Superman is for soups what the Batman was for bats. I agree. Start a few years in, focus mostly on costume side of character, but most importantly, both felt like reading comic book of that character and city. And by the way, I think it also kind of highlights that even within the DCU, not all the DCU movies are going to feel like Superman. Nathan Fillion just did an interview. Nathan Fillion didn't drop any F-bombs in Superman. But he just did an interview because Nathan Fillion is going to appear in the upcoming HBO series Lanterns. And Nathan Fillion just said, and quoting him, I just dropped more F-bombs in this thing than I've ever in my entire career. So, like, Superman is going to be Superman, but Supergirl is going to feel different. And Clayface is a body horror movie. It's going to feel very different. The DCU movies are not all going to feel the same. They're all going to be very, very different. Some are going to be more family friendly like Superman. Some are going to be straight up R-rated. And I think that's interesting. I think that's going to be a really interesting thing about James Gunn's DCU. All right. Thanks for that, John. Next up, the 8th writes, the scene where Superman is talking to Lois by the window and that's to me the defining moment of the movie, and is about to save Krypto and they hug made me tear up, and I'm a cat person. He cares a lot. Again, and it's the thing that really brings it home is that he doesn't even really like the dog that much, right? I love the timing of the line when she's like, it's just a dog. Yeah, not a very good one. But he's alone and he's probably scared. It doesn't matter that Krypto isn't his favorite thing in the world. That's enough for him. That's the heart of Superman, man. And that's why I love that so much. That's why I loved it so much. All right. Next up. Sam Fisher writes, 1 of 2. I love how they introduce Kara here, as it establishes her as a party girl for the average moviegoer. However, for those of you who know, it also sets up her characterization and introduction in The Woman of Tomorrow. Yes, it does. Comic. Her movie's source material as a drunk in a bar and on a red planet. And listen, I don't know how much they're going to go into it. Like James Gunn said, Supergirl will be very different from Superman. The Woman of Tomorrow storyline can get dark. For any of you who don't know it, the story of Woman of Tomorrow can get dark. like really dark and violent. And it's going to be really interesting to see the approach they take with that. All right. Thanks for that, Sam. Next up, King Daddy Goat writes, when Superman remained after the smoke cleared. Oh, dude, I swear to God, you can ask Rob. This is totally true. In that moment, when Superman stops the building from falling on the woman's car, and then the woman's driving away and she looks back and all the smoke is rising from the building crashing, and then coming out of the smoke, just standing there, this vision of Superman. I was sitting right beside Rob, and literally as we were watching the movie for the first time, when that happened, I instinctually just did this. I literally stretched my arms out and did this, like looking at that frame. It was awe-inspiring. I want a poster of that moment. I absolutely want a poster of that moment. Anyway, Mike Vetter writes, Jimmy Olsen is usually an afterthought in Superman films, but to me, this one, he stood out. His B story with Eve was unexpected, yet pretty great. P.S. Jor-El is basically Omni-Man now. Yeah, in many ways. Only a little bit more sentimental. But here's the thing. Let me just touch on this before we talk about the Jimmy stuff. The thing is, how do I put this? Maybe to Jor-El, like the way they do things, that's just normal. Like to them, this is what is best for Earth, is for us to do this. We've got to say there are simple people. Again, I think we're going to find out that the message was doctored. Okay. Just again, I'm going to keep repeating that just to make sure you're clear that I believe we're going to find out the message was doctored, but maybe on Krypton, that's just the normal way of looking at things. Like there was a period in our history, lest people want to make you forget, there was a period in our history where it was just thought, oh yeah, we have slaves. Yeah. That's just a part of what we are. You probably didn't think much about it. We have slaves. Now we grow as a species and we realize, wow, that was really fucked up. I wonder if because clearly even in the first part of Jor-El's message, they love their son, right? They love their son and they moved heaven and earth to save their son. And, they send off the hope of Krypton out into the universe and all like, oh, okay, that's great. But maybe on Krypton, it's just the normal thing. We as Kryptonians are the hope of the universe. And to bring the truth of Krypton out there, to be the hope of the universe, Kal-El, you may have to, you got to repopulate. You're the last son of Krypton. Take as many wives. Breed, man. Breed. Again, that's me. Anyway, back to your main thing about Jimmy. Jimmy Olsen was a pleasant surprise in this movie for me. They did some things that I did not expect them to do. Like when Lois is looking at these girls who are throwing themselves at Jimmy, and she's like, what? How? Like, because you look at Jimmy, you don't think anything special, right? But for some reason, there's something about this guy that all these hot women are throwing themselves. And even Lois is like, how? How is this girl, Eve Tessmacher, this bombshell, how is she like throwing herself at you? Like even she's wondering that, right? But man, I'll tell you what, some of my biggest laughs in the movie were about Jimmy and Eve, whether they were just Jimmy is talking about Eve or whether they're talking to each other. Like at the end of the movie, when after they've saved the day and all that kind of stuff, and she runs up to him and she jumps into his arms and then she says, now we can be together forever. I laughed my ass off. And now we can be together forever. But did you notice too in that moment when she says that he at first kind of grimaces, but then he smiles? because he realizes, like, with the dumb blonde exterior that she has, she was actually brilliant. Like, the way she was able to get all of Lex's secrets, and to, even when Lex catches her, he has no idea what she's done. Camouflage, collecting all this incriminating evidence in the form of sexy selfies, right? So that's why Lois is like, oh my God, your hot ex-girlfriend is actually a genius. And I think that kind of changed the way, that realization may have changed the way that Jimmy looked at her a little bit, so that at the end, when she says that totally psycho thing, she goes, now we can be together forever. And he actually ends kind of smiling a bit. Anyway, that's just something, that was just a thought I had about it. Anyway, next up, thanks for that, Mike. Stefan writes, hey, John, I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to stop you and Ann and say hi on Friday night at AMC. I really appreciate it and made my night. Had a blast with Superman. Absolutely loved it. You know, I'll admit, Stefan, I can't remember which one you are specifically, but listen, one of the truly awesome experiences for me, even though you would never guess it by watching me on YouTube, but I'm a very shy person. I'm very socially introverted. I'm very socially awkward. I don't have great social skills, all that kind of stuff. It's all true. It's all true. But you also have to understand my fundamental baseline belief and understanding of myself, which is I am an absolute nobody. And I'm not saying that for false modesty or anything. I'm like, I don't even like, my YouTube channel is very tiny. It's very tiny compared to like legitimate big sized YouTube channels. Like, we are a tiny little YouTube channel. I don't do the things, because I don't like to do the things that would make you grow to be bigger. I like doing what we do, and I like being the size that we are, and I like our community the way it is. And I'm a little nothing nobody. And so as a little nothing nobody who does this little YouTube thing from my converted garage, so many of you guys, and I mean this wholeheartedly, like, you make me feel like a rock star sometimes. Like whenever Ann and I go to the movie theaters, like whether we go to Universal or we go to Disneyland or we go downtown, whatever, it happens all over the place, but it particularly happens at movie theaters. When we go out to movie theaters, and like the last couple of days when we've gone to see Superman 3 times, when we have people come up and introduce themselves and say they watch the show and all that kind of stuff, I could pretend to be cool and say, oh yeah, it's just pretend, like, act like you've been there. Like, oh yeah, this is just a part. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Every single time that happens, and you guys come up and say hi and say you watch the show or say you're a fan of the show, whatever, I'm not going to act cool. I'm going to tell you straight up. You guys make me feel like a rock star. You really do. And you make me feel like $1 million. And that is so far beyond what I deserve, but it's what you guys give. It's a gift you guys give me. Because like I said, I'm just a fucking nobody sitting in my spare garage. Like I have two. Sitting in my converted garage. Used to do it from my spare bedroom. And when guys like you, Stefan, stop us and come walk, whether it's, you know, outside walking into the theaters or in the lobby of the theaters or whatever, and come up and talk to us, it's just to say hi. And I'm not going to lie. You know what the best part about it is? I ain't even lying. And Ann's not even here right now. She's at Disneyland with Kat right now. So I'm not even saying this in front of her. But the best thing about it, the thing I love most about it, I love it most, not just because you guys make me feel like a rock star. I love it most when it happens when Ann's there, because it makes me look cool in front of Ann. There, I admit it. Okay? I admit it. I love it most just because it makes me look cool in front of Ann. That will always be the number one thing to me, is that it makes me look cool in front of Anne. And yeah. You guys don't understand. There's nobody. I don't give a shit about anybody. There's one person on this planet whose approval I seek, and it's Anne. She's the only person I ever care about what she thinks of me. Well, her and my mom and dad. My dad now. But yeah, that's always the part that makes me feel best. Anyway, thank you for that, Stefan. I appreciate that, man, very, very much. All right, next up, Arun writes. Where is it? I lost a whole second. My screen just went out for a second. Give me a second to bring it back up. Okay, there it is. Arun writes, liked Man of Steel. All actors were great. Climax fight was the highlight. Didn't like the Supergirl intro. I did. Although felt Thunderbolts was a better movie. Yeah, I think I might still kind of be in that spot. Again, Thunderbolts is a very different kind of movie than Superman. And I love them both very, very much. And like I said, if I was put on the spot and I had to answer right now, which is my favorite superhero movie of the year? If I had to answer that right now, I'm going to say Thunderbolts. Now, ask me in a month, once I've saturated in Superman a little bit and I've had a chance to, kind of let it marinate a bit, I might say Superman. But for now, I'm still going to kind of say that. But I love them both very much. I really, really do. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got, that was Arun. Thank you, Arun. Advet writes, saw your reaction, looked like it's better than Nolan's Batman. Oh, I never at all. Oh, time out. I never remotely suggested that Superman was better than The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight's a top 3 greatest comic book movie of all time. I never once remotely suggested that. I simply had a great time at the movie. Now, that's the thing about out of theater reactions. My out of theater reactions are generally 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds, where I just give my quick first impression the moment I come out of a movie. And I had a great time. So just stop with that. You were making it sound like it was better than I never said any such thing. That was just me giving my quick first reaction, and I had a great time. And so I communicated that I had a great time and that I loved the movie. But yeah, I never remotely hinted, implied, or suggested that I thought this movie was better than Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. I never once did anything like that. Anyway, let us go back to your question. I just watched it. It's not. LOL, weak 7 out of 10. Time out. Do you understand what 7 out of 10 is? You can't give a movie a 7 out of 10 and call it weak. You're literally 3 points away from perfection. 2 out of 10 is weak. 3 out of 10 is weak. 5 is mediocre. 6 is better than mediocre. 7's pretty solid. Like, you can't say a movie's weak and then give it a 7 out of 10. Anyway, fun but forced. Fair enough. I mean, I didn't find it forced, but I could totally see how some people might. Wish these movies had more to say than random action stitched into a loose plot. Look, all I can tell you is, for me, the richness of the movie is that it did have a lot to say about the things that have real value, what give us our real identity, the role of kindness and goodness in the world. The whole idea is, are we pre-programmed and destined to be the way we are, or are we defined by other better forces? Like to me, the greatness of this movie is in all the things that it had to say. Now, movies are art, and all art is subjective. And if the movie hit you in such a way that those messages, those things the movie had to say, didn't really present themselves to you, that's understandable. Because, like, if the movie hit you in that way, then the movie hit you in that way. Nothing wrong with that, right? All films is art, all art is subjective. I can simply only tell you my experience. And my experience with it was very different than yours. The reason I enjoyed the movie so much was because of specifically what it had to say. and what it was holding up. That's the reason I love the movie. The action's great. The entertainment moments are great and entertaining and fun and funny and like all those other things I like about movies. Yes. But to me, the thing that made the movie truly special was that it had so much to say. Now, again, that doesn't mean you're wrong and I'm right. It just means the movie hit you in that way, and that's perfectly fair. I can only tell you how it hit me and what my experience with the movie was. And my experience was clearly very different than yours. And that's okay. That's okay. Anyway, thanks for writing in your thoughts, Advit. I appreciate it. All right, next up. Jake writes, future twist idea. Kara sees the Kryptonian message for the first time. That's not my uncle. Bradley Cooper is Zod. Woo! Who hijacked Jor-El's message. I like that. That's a pretty cool thing. Now, maybe you would think that Kara would have seen that message by now, but yeah, maybe she's never seen it yet. And she looks at it. She goes, hey, who's the guy over there? What do you mean, who's the guy? That's my dad. That's your Uncle Jor-El. You think that's not Jor-El. I knew my Uncle Jor-El. I knew Uncle Jor. She calls him Jor. I'm making that up. I knew Uncle Jay. That ain't Uncle Jay. And like, what? And then you find out like all of it is like a complete thing. That would actually be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. I would like that. That's a great theory, Jake. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but that is a great theory. All right. Baby Boy writes, where are we at? Baby Boy writes, my envy. Oh yeah. This line from Lex, my envy is a calling. It is the sole hope for humanity because it is what has driven me into annihilating you. 1A, 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 1A. Nicholas Hoult was outstanding as Lex Luthor. Yeah. Like I appreciate it when, now listen, there is always in many movies, there is a place for the great classic mustache twirling villain who is just evil and knows they're evil and they're in it for their own stuff. Palpatine, for example, right? There's a place for that, 100%. Some of the greatest villains of all time. But I also really appreciate when the villain sees themselves as actually the hero, as the one who is misunderstood. You just don't get it. I'm trying to save humanity. Like in Unto a Thanos, right? Like that's one of the key things about Thanos is that, yeah, Thanos is make no mistake about it. He's evil, but in his head, no, y'all don't get it. I'm trying to save the universe. Only my way. But I'm trying to save the universe, right? And like that speech about Lex is he has conviction that he believes Superman is bad for humanity. Now he also is blinded to his own evil and he doesn't even recognize his own, what's the best way to put it? But his own baggage that he's like, really his hatred for Superman comes from something more personal, but he really believes it's from something else. And I really appreciate that about the character in the movie. All right. Next up, Sin Vendetta writes, I've seen Superman twice now. And every time I heard the name Planet Watch, it would pop up in my head with the Campia crew saying Planet Watch. And I just laughed myself. Reaction Watch, Ticket Watch, Planet Watch. By the way, while it was funny that Lex was at the Pentagon and giving his presentation, and then when he's done his presentation, goes like this, and the camera pans, and you see Ultraman standing at the light switch and turns the lights on. Would the Pentagon let Ultraman in? I don't know. Maybe they would, maybe it wouldn't, but I just thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, Planet Watch. Anyway, thanks, Sin Vendetta. Next up, Mike's Movie Madness writes, absolutely love the movie, but I do have some minor gripes with it. So do I. I thought the Ultraman reveal was too obvious. So much so I was hoping for a misdirect. And I thought the whole Jimmy/Eve plot was a little dumb. I actually really appreciated the Jimmy Eve thing. I like the idea of him being a ladies' man, but I think James Gunn took it a tad too far. Listen, her Eve Tessmacher was very much in the spirit of the Gene Hackman's Tessmacher from the original Superman. Only they made her a low-key kind of genius because of the way she ultimately she's the one responsible for taking Lex down. So, I mean, I already did my full list of all my nitpicks about the things I didn't like about the movie. I did that at the beginning of the video in case you missed it. But yeah, overall, I thought the Jimmy and Eve thing was a really entertaining part of the movie. I personally really enjoyed that part. What was the other one you mentioned? Oh yeah, the Ultraman reveal. I don't know, man. Like, I think for a lot of us, we kind of got that was coming, but they laid the hints through, right? Like, kind of needed to make sense. How does Lex get into the Fortress of Solitude? It's Superman's DNA. Like, so it all fit into the story as a whole. And so, yeah, and listen, by the way, like I said, I've seen the movie 3 times, and every movie theater is different. Your movie theater may not react the way mine. But all 3 times that I was in a movie theater watching this, when the mask comes off and it's Superman's face, there were a lot of gasps in my theaters. Now, maybe there weren't in yours. I'm only telling you the ones I was in. But yeah, there were definitely a lot of, whoo, like when they found out that it's actually Superman's clone doing it. But anyway, that's only been my experience. Anyway, let's see. Next up, Baby Boy writes, F2, D3, Z9, etc. Felt like I was playing Battleship. Yes, Z29, whatever. Again, that was the whole thing about why Ultraman. Again, if you have Ultraman and Superman, and they cancel each other out, like they're equally matched, all things being equal, right? They both got laser vision, they both got the super strength, they both got the super speed, blah, 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 blah. What gives Ultraman the advantage? The fact that behind Ultraman is an entire tactical team that not only physically helps him, like the Raptors and Engineer, but also up in the control panel, they have studied this for years. They've studied Superman closely. They've devised entire battle strategies, can have like 18 eyes in the sky monitoring everything. And if you got Superman and Ultraman that are literally clones of each other, then that will give him a distinct advantage. And that's why he had it throughout the movie. Until Krypto took that advantage away, and then Superman was able to gain the upper hand. So yeah, I kind of dug that, to be honest with you. All right. Next up, Raymond Verada writes, when Lex revealed the second part of Jor-El's message, I wanted to believe it was AI faked. It was a twist. Maybe more can be said in Supergirl. Again, there's been a lot of talk about that, and I still believe ultimately, whether we find out that wasn't actually Jor-El at all, like somebody else was just suggesting, or whether it was doctored, like, yay, primitive human scientists were able to confirm the validity. Kryptonian technology is way beyond Earth scientists, so I wouldn't be surprised at all. I still believe we're going to find out that footage was doctored. That being said, I think it's ballsy to take that part of the lore in a new direction that we haven't had before. It's a minor part of the lore, but I think it's kind of gutsy if they do it. All right. Thanks for that, Raymond. Next up, Super Saiyan 13 writes, or Super Sani 13 writes, one of two. Hey, John, you may recall I mentioned my dad took me to watch my first movie in theaters in '87, Superman 4. I was a Superman fan since then, age 5. Well, I took my 7-year-old son this weekend. That's special, man. And we had a great time. David is an awesome soups. My only issue was Hawk Girl's annoying scream. I actually really liked Hawk Girl's scream. I was talking to a friend of mine about that. And I think because if you watch it again, when she screams, there's a distortion in the air, right? I think her scream is meant to disorient her prey. Best way to put it. Like I think her screams are supposed to disbalance the equilibrium of the people she's attacking. But so anyway, I liked it. I like the screams myself, but you're not the first person, by the way. You're not the first person I've heard say that they didn't really like her screams. I can respect that. I can respect that. Again, I'm just saying for me, it kind of worked. For me, it worked that she did that. All right. And by the way, how special is that you've got this great memory of being taken by your dad to see a Superman movie, even if it was Superman 4 Quest for Peace. And now you're taking your son to see Superman. That's really cool, man. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Let's see. Next up, we got Sam Fisher again, who writes, I'm actually a little surprised they didn't give Kara the one allotted, what the fuck, dude? Would have been a great contrast to Clark's what the hey. Yes. Now look, in a PG-13 movie, you can have one F-bomb. But despite the fact that there is some colorful language in the movie, I think James Gunn was clearly aware. We are appealing here to longtime fans, all that kind of stuff, but we are also really appealing to families in this. And for guys like Super Sanny, who's taken his 7-year-old son, yeah, there's some colorful language in the movie. But fuck is not one of them. And so I think that was the right move. I think that was the right move not to have it in the movie. Really specifically understanding that they're targeting the whole family. And I think it was probably a good move not to just force that in there. Just not to force it in there. Anyway, next up. Andy Newton writes, took me like 30 minutes to get into the movie, but somehow it works. Super bold choice tone-wise. Could have been another She-Hulk, especially with Lex's girlfriend, but they did it. A great introduction to the DCU. And again, I think that's the thing I've been trying to really emphasize mostly, Andy, over the past year or so, is that, and everybody disagreed with me, and that's fine. But I kept telling people for a year, this movie will not make a ton of money. And that's okay, because that's not the job of this movie. The job of this movie is to start to win the audience back so that the cinematic universe as a whole can make money. And no, John, this movie needs to make this much money. It's going to make this much money. And I kept telling people, no, it doesn't. And no, it won't. And that's okay. That's okay. Because what this movie needs to do is to have the reaction you just gave it, Andy. It works, and it's a great introduction to this new universe. And whereas the DCEU burned all of its bridges and alienated all of the fans because all the movie-going audience completely abandoned the DCU and stopped going. I mean, they never liked it from the beginning. Even my boy Henry, what is wrong with you people? But even my boy Henry, my movie Man of Steel, the most underrated comic book movie of all time, most people hated it. I don't understand you, but that's fine. It's all subjective. But right from day one, the audience never got on board in mass. The audience, the critics, whatever, just never really got on board with the DCU, the DCEU. Obviously, Man of Steel was not as beloved as it deserved to be beloved. Batman versus Superman wasn't appreciated as much as I think it deserved to be appreciated. Everybody appreciated Wonder Woman. Great. I thought Aquaman deserved more love, even though it made $1 billion. Became the only movie in the DCEU that did make the $1 billion mark. And then by the end, they just stopped going. The audience gave up on the DCEU. Even when they put out some pretty entertaining movies, like Blue Beetle. Like, I thought Blue Beetle was a really nice little film. Like, did it move the needle? No, but I thought Blue Beetle was an entertaining, really nice little movie. I had a really good time with it. Not a top 2 or 3 best in the DCEU, but I thought it was a good little movie. Nobody went to go see it. Like, nobody. Let me actually pull it up. How many people did go see? Let me pull up. I think it was like around $200 million, like total. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Blue Beetle. Oh my God. Okay. You know how I just said Superman made $122 million opening weekend just in North America? 122 million opening weekend, third biggest opening weekend of the year. Blue Beetle worldwide, full theatrical run worldwide, made $130 million. Made $130 million worldwide. And it wasn't just that. I thought Flash was a pretty good movie. Nobody went to go see it. They didn't really go to support Shazam. I like Shazam. They just abandoned it. I mean, the box office for Aquaman 2 took a major nosedive. Like I just said, Aquaman 1 made over $1 billion. Aquaman 2, what did it do? The Lost Kingdom. God, guys, Aquaman made over $1 billion. You know how much Aquaman 2 made? Less than half of that. $440 million. $440 million. Which on its $440 million by itself, that's not a terrible number. That's more than a lot of movies make. But Aquaman 1 made over $1 billion. And even the sequel, that's how much the movie-going audience completely gave up on and completely abandoned the DCEU. They just completely abandoned the DCEU. Nobody was going to see the movies anymore. And that's why I've been saying for well over a year that the primary and only mission of this Superman movie is to rehabilitate DC's image and start to win the audience back. Rehabilitate the image and start to win the audience back. And guess what? They're doing it. No DCEU movie has a 93% audience rating. No DCEU movie has a 93% audience rating. This is the highest audience rating of any DC movie. At least verified ones. They're like, there are others like Dark Knight that are higher, but that was in an era when you could. But as far as like in the modern era during verified reviews, no DC movie has a rating that high. So the most important mission of this Superman movie is mission accomplished. They did it. The audiences like it. The critics like it. They are rehabilitating the image of DC and starting to win that audience back. And whereas DCEU movies were only making $130 million, Superman just beat that in its opening weekend. Clearly, they are winning the audience back. And that's going to pay off dividends as they move forward into the future. All right. Anyway, sorry. Spend a lot of time on that. Let's see. Next up. Raymond Verada writes, it was funny the Justice Gang was fighting an interdimensional imp while Superman sits it out. Whose home is this? Looks better than the earlier one. Well, the earlier one was Lois's apartment. This one was Clark's apartment. It was really kind of hard to see how nice it was because it was mostly in the dark and we didn't see much of the apartment. But like Superman says, like she's like, did you come from helping those guys? And he's like, no, it's just an interdimensional imp. They got this. It's like, it's not a big, that's not a big problem. They got it. It's all right. But yeah, the apartment itself, yeah, it does have the feel like it's nicer than Lois's, but again, it was hard to say because you only see very little of the apartment and it was always dark. So I just don't know how good the apartment was. All right, let's see here. Next up, we got Never Lose Your Nerd writes. I liked, but didn't love it. The tone just didn't totally work for me, and it was a little too goofy and ridiculous at times. Very entertaining, though. Yeah, listen, I remember when Rob and I were talking about the movie, And we were talking about all these things we loved about it, and like how comic accurate it is, how it has the feel of a comic book movie. You know, Rob talking about he's waited a long time for a real comic book movie to jump off the pages of the comics and actually be fleshed out on the screen and all that kind of stuff. But if you guys were watching that episode about a week ago, one of the things that I said that me and Rob talked about was that, number one, the very things about the Superman movie that make us and a lot of other people love it will be the exact same reason why it won't appeal to everybody. And the example I gave was like food, right? Somebody can come up with these chicken wings and say, John, you got to try these chicken wings. They're so good. They got this great spice to it that has a real bite, and it's just awesome. Makes your taste buds dance. Okay, so that bite and that spice is why this person loves the chicken wings. But I am an absolute spice pussy. I cannot handle spicy. Like, I like flavor spices, but spicy, I can't handle. When I get chicken wings, I fully admit this. I'm secure enough in my own manhood that I can say this publicly. When I order chicken wings, I either got to get them naked or just with ranch or maybe honey garlic. And at the most, if I'm feeling particularly daring, I'll get them mild. That mild is about as spicy as I can handle. So it has this element. These wings have this element to it, this kick, this bite, this spiciness, right? Which is why a bunch of people would eat the wing and love it. Great. But that exact same thing is the reason why I wouldn't like it. We're talking about the same thing. It's the bite, it's the kick, it's the spice. That's why you love it, but it's why I don't love it. And so as we were talking about Superman, we talked about the point that there are going to be things that are the reason we love this movie so much. But those things will be the specific reasons why it won't work for some other people. So like you mentioning, like, hey, you know, some of it seemed a little goofy and ridiculous. To me, some of those moments, as long as it's not overdone like in Thor: Love and Thunder, some of those moments are some of the things that put the biggest smile on my face and brought me the most joy. But it won't necessarily hit you that way. And so some of those moments are why I loved it. But fair enough. Some of those moments are maybe why you liked it but didn't love it. And that's totally fair. That's movies, man. That's movies. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Johnny Got Lost writes, hope Ultraman comes back as Bizarro. I was thinking that exact same thing. I don't think that's the last we're going to see of Ultraman now that he got sucked in that black hole. Anyway, hope Ultraman comes back as Bizarro. Most assume that all Kryptonians are conquerors, but I think that's just his parents' wishes. Maybe revealed in Supergirl. Surprised she never mentioned it to Clark. See, that's what gives that other theory that one of the other viewers mentioned credence to me, is that maybe Kara's never seen that message. And it's going to be really interesting. Again, I believe that we're going to find out that that message was doctored. Maybe not, but I think it will. And I'm really liking that fan theory, Johnny. I'm liking that fan theory more and more the longer we get into this discussion. Anyway. All right. Orlando just sends in a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you. And then he also wrote in, seeing who owns crypto explains his disobedience. That was such a great thing. It's like, now you see why he has behavioral issues. Totally makes sense. I love that. Did you know, this is true, you can go look it up, James Gunn has an adopted dog that he completely based crypto on. The only difference is, besides the superpowers, is that crypto has white fur, whereas James Gunn's dog has like a darker fur, but it's totally James Gunn's dog. Like James Gunn modeled all of Crypto's behaviors after this dog he has. You should go look up some stories of James Gunn talking about it. It's really kind of sweet. All right. Chino writes, I have a theory. What is Metamorpho's baby? Oh, you probably mean what if? What if Metamorpho's baby becomes Martian Manhunter? No, he can't, and we'll explain that in a second. He'll have the ability to grow up fast. Metamorpho will die serving the Justice Gang. Therefore, Manhunter's motivation on joining the Justice League bring on the filthy. The problem is, it's one thing to play around with some background story, but the whole thing about Martian Manhunter is that he's a Martian from Mars. Yeah, so I don't think Martian Manhunter will end up being just a metahuman's baby from Earth. I mean, that's not just a little side detail like Jor-El's motivations. We're talking about, it is a core thing. It's in his name, Martian Manhunter. He is Martian because he is from Mars. So yeah, now listen, I'm not going to lie. There was a moment I kind of looked at him and thought a little bit, could that be a little Martian Manhunter? But again, it just really wouldn't make any sense because Martian Manhunter is Martian from Mars. So that's why they probably won't do that one, Chino. But I have a feeling, Chino, that that's not the last we're going to see of little baby Joey. I do not think that's the last we're going to see of little baby. I don't think he's going to be Martian Manhunter, but I don't think that's the last we're going to see of little baby Joey. All right. Last question we're going to take, guys, and then we're going to take a short 3-minute break. Tom writes, I get emotional several times just seeing Superman's big heart throughout this movie. People were going to die. David Cornsweet was amazing. Listen, I remember when we first saw the trailer, and some people go, why is Superman getting upset? Superman should never get upset. That's bullshit, number one. But I remember watching that trailer when he's like, people were going to die. And where some people had problems with that in the trailer, I love that because I said on our show when that trailer dropped, I said, this is great because it's showing Clark's moral North Star. Like to Clark is, why is this an issue? Why are we debating if we should have saved people's lives? Well, there's the political thing and there's this and, there's all this nuance. People were going to die. And I said, I love the fact that they're showing us Clark getting frustrated by, why is this up for debate? Why are we discussing if saving people's lives was the right thing to do or not? Because to Clark, that's just black and white, man. Hey, some bad guys with guns were going into the space and they were going to kill these people. Well, maybe you shouldn't have stopped them. What are you talking about? Maybe I shouldn't have stopped. Why are we even talking about this? How is this not simple? And I loved that in the trailer. And I loved it in the movie, and I thought it made perfect sense. All right, listen, guys, we still have a lot of questions to get through from where are we picking up with? We're picking up with Hank Dunn and Johnny Weiner and more, and we will get to those when we come back. But we have now been going about 2.5 hours. I need to go refill my drink. Not going to lie, I got to also go use the bathroom quickly. So we are going to take a quick 3 or 4 minute break here, give you guys a chance to run, grab yourself something to eat, maybe get yourselves a drink. Maybe you need to run use the bathroom. Maybe you just talk amongst yourselves. So give us just a couple of minutes, guys. Hang tight, and we will be right back. back. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence as I took a little bit of a break there. Relieved myself and refilled my drink. Hopefully you guys were able to do that as well. Now let's get back to your questions that you guys have sent in, shall we? All right, we're going to pick things up here with Hank Dunn, who wrote, before seeing this movie, I wouldn't want Pattinson's Batman in this world, but after seeing it, yeah, I want them to cross over. Do it, Gunn and Reeves. No way. I gotta respectfully disagree with you, my film loving brother. I gotta respectfully disagree. I think that is not a match. I think that is not a fit. The thing is, Robert Pattinson's Batman is specifically designed and written to be in a world that does not have gods and monsters. His Batman is grounded and written and created and given the DNA of a guy who lives in a more realistic world. That Batman does not exist in a world with magic Amazonians that fly and shoot lasers out of their eyes and can change shapes and forms and, you know, all that different kind of stuff. That's not what that Batman is. I don't think Robert Pattinson's Batman at all would fit in the DCU. I just don't think he would fit in there at all. We're going to get a Batman that is truly Batman and does fit, and it's just created a little bit differently that it will fit there. And by the way, I love the idea that we're going to get Batman in the Reeves verse and Batman in the DCU. And they're both going to be distinctly Batman, but they're going to be distinct and unique from each other at the same time. So yeah, again, Hank, I respect it. I know you're not alone either. I know there are other people who like to see Robert Pattinson's Batman. I just think it would be a horrible mistake. I think it would be a terrible tonally, from a tonal point of view, it would be a real mistake. But that's just me. Who knows? Maybe you'll get your wish. All right. Thanks for sharing, Hank. Next up, Johnny Weiner writes, first of all, I really enjoyed the movie. I saw it 4 times in different formats. My favorite is 4DX. I cannot imagine watching this in 4DX. I only wish they show more Clark Kent interacting with the Daily Planet's coworkers like Perry and Cat Grant. That is one of the things. Remember during the beginning of the broadcast, I said, when I was talking about how the movie was a little bit too short, there are 4 or 5 elements in the movie that not give 10 extra minutes, but give like 1 or 2 extra minutes to. That if they gave a couple of things just 1 or 2 extra minutes, just to breathe it out a little bit more. Clark with the Kents. I would have liked to have seen 1 or 2, maybe 3 more minutes of that. But also one of the things is Clark at the Daily Planet and getting to see a little bit more Perry. Rob often brings that up. It's like, Rob loved the movie, but he's like, I do wish we got to see more Perry. Cat. Now, I think we're going to clearly get more Perry, more Cat, more of the sports guy. This was just an introduction for them. I think they're going to have a bigger role to play a little bit later on as we move forward in the DCU. But it would have been nice to have like just an extra 2 minutes at the Daily Planet and just seeing the dynamic and the chemistry and the interactions between Clark and the other people there. I just think, again, not 10 extra minutes, not 15, just another 1 or 2 minutes there I thought would have been nice. Anyway, let's see. Next up. Ooh, I hit the wrong button on that. That's interesting that I did that. Okay. I just learned something. All right. Next up. We've got also Johnny Weiner writes, I wasn't sold on Jarrell Laura message. Wish it explained a bit more or clear up what they meant, but solid movie. Can't wait for it more. Love Supergirl. And you know what? Here's the thing. For the purposes of this movie, the message of Jarrell was really just to create a conflict for Superman. It was to create a moral dilemma and a moment of self-doubt for Superman that he then later had to be reaffirmed in his conversation with his Earth father, Pa Kent. So that was really the point of it. And it served its function and great. And I don't think they really meant to go more into it. I don't think we need to get more understanding of it. Again, I still believe, and I could be wrong, but I still believe that we are going to find out that the message Lex got is not what it appears. Maybe Lex isn't the one who doctored it. Again, whether it's Brainiac, some other Kryptonian, whatever. But I still think, or we find out that wasn't even Jor-El at all. I love that theory. It's like, who's that guy, Cal? What are you talking about? Who's that guy? That's my dad. That's your uncle. That ain't Uncle Jay. That's not Uncle Jor-El. It's like, I love that theory. Like one of our viewers wrote that in earlier. I love that theory. But I think it's going to turn out to be that. But if not, I'm sure we'll get more into it a little bit later. All right. Let's see. Next up was, where are we at? Mike Thompson, who sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Mike, for supporting us on that level, man. Appreciate that, dude. And Mike writes, so going in, I was nervous about this movie. I thought the suit was ugly. I didn't think the suit was ugly, but I really don't like the red trunks, man. Anyway, the trailers never never wowed me. And it looked like Gunn was going to make Superman a little too weak, but this was easily my favorite movie of the year. That's all right. So clearly the movie turned you around. Yeah, for me, I would still say, for me personally, confidently, I still think Sinners is the best movie of the year. That's me. That's just, as somebody who loved the Superman movie, I still think Sinners is the best movie of the year. I still think Thunderbolts is probably still my second favorite movie of the year. But then again, ask me next month, maybe Superman passes Thunderbolts for me. But yeah, again, just a thoroughly entertaining movie, man. Again, I've gone back to see it now 3 times. It just never fails to bring me joy. And it just makes me smile the whole time through. And, after watching the first time, we talked about it on the show. After we watched it the first time, Rob and I were talking about it. And I remember saying, I wonder if this is going to be one of those situations where when I watch it the second time, that the parts that bug me about the movie, because every movie has elements that don't work for me. Every movie does. But I said, I wonder if the second time I watch it, if the parts that I don't like will stand out to me more. And they really didn't. Don't get me wrong. That whole engineer line, I know, Lex, I sacrificed my own humanity. Oh, here we go with the exposition. I sacrificed my own humanity so I can help you in the car. I hate that line so much, but that aside, it never did. It never did become more predominant for me in watching the film. If anything, all the things that I loved about the movie became more predominant. So that's just my experience though. Anyway, Mike, I'm glad you enjoyed it, even though you had your doubts going into it, and I'm glad you had a good time. I know I did. All right. Next up, Patrick writes, not sure if anyone has mentioned it yet, but Peacemaker's cameo. My entire theater cracked up at his appearance. We didn't even hear everything he said. You know what? I've now seen the movie 3 times. Every time I watch the movie, I get a little bit more of what he's saying. I missed this part entirely the first time I saw it because the audience is laughing and all that kind of stuff. But as the camera's panning away from the TV, if you listen closely, you can hear John Cena saying, yeah, all these super guys, they're all just jealous of me because I'm way more jacked than they are. And it just keeps going. So every time I've seen the movie, I catch a little bit more of what he says. So I wonder if when I go see it a 4th time, maybe tonight, I wonder if I'll catch even more of it. But yeah, every time I've seen it, the audience cracks up when you see him in there. Can't wait for Peacemaker season 2, by the way. All right. E. Groomy writes, hey, John, was it jarring to you also when the Justice Gang showed up at the border at the end? Didn't see when the change of heart happened? Yes, you did. Okay, so both Hawkgirl, if you remember, both Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner were both given there without dialogue. You could see their, okay, number 1, clearly Superman has an impact on them. Number 2, clearly Lois had an impact on them. But as Guy Gardner, let's start with Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner is sitting in that diner eating a bowl of cereal, which I love. He's eating a bowl of cereal and he's seeing what's going on. And you can see him having internal monologue in his head. You can see him having a discussion with himself in your head. He's a hero. He's supposed to be a hero. And regardless of what governments say or whatever, he's supposed to be about serving and protecting people. And he's sitting there and he's looking at this thing on TV, knowing that Superman had saved these people before. And what an impact that made on these people. Because now not only is he witnessing this, he's about to witness a massacre. But he also sees the people chanting out Superman. That, I think, to me, that reminded, we'll get to Hawkgirl in a second. But for Guy, it reminded him about why he's a hero, what it means to be a hero. Right? Like he's seeing these people call out Superman, and like they're calling out for a hero. They're calling out to be saved. And what is he going to do? Just sit there and let them die? When Superman saved them and all that kind of stuff. And then, so that was Guy. Then we cut over to Hawkgirl. And we see Hawkgirl like getting out of the shower, and she's like, you could see it on her face. She's watching this unfolding. So when you say that we never really got to see them have their hearts changed, a change of heart, yes, we did. We literally saw it without any dialogue, without any words, but we didn't need, all we needed was the look on their faces. And we saw that change of heart, as we would call it, happening. All right. Bry Guy writes, second best comic book movie post Endgame after Spider-Verse 2. Ooh, I don't know. I mean, there have been a couple, not a ton, but there have been a couple of really great superhero movies post Endgame. Shang-Chi, Deadpool and Wolverine, the Spider-Verse films, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Thunderbolts. There have also been a lot of not so good ones, but I mean, there have been a couple of really good ones, but I don't know that I'm ready to say it's the best comic book movie since Endgame. But if it is for you, that's all that matters. And I'm just glad you had a good time with it. I know I certainly did as well. All right. Soiner writes, for 2 full seconds, I thought the Ultraman reveal was Hayden Christensen / Anakin. I had a huge brain fart. You know, actually, now that you say it, I can kind of see it. That he does kind of have that, you turned her against me kind of look on his face. You know what? Yeah, I didn't think it myself when he took off the mask, but you know what? You're right. He did kind of look like dirty Anakin. He did look a little bit like dirty. Now I'm not going to be able to unsee that. Thanks a lot for that. Now that's all I'm going to be able to see when I see this movie. All right. Karoom writes, was Ultraman in the comics always a clone? Also, I wonder that info about Supergirl going to planets with Red Sun plays a plot in Supergirl film. I think it will. Now, we were talking about this a little bit earlier in the stream, although we're getting close to 3 hours, so maybe you missed it. So Ultraman originally in the comics, so they portrayed him differently at different times, but the basic gist of Ultraman in the comics is that Ultraman is Superman from another dimension, from another universe. But in that universe, the Justice League are evil. And all of its members are evil versions of the heroes that we have in our world. And so Ultraman has the Superman costume, but instead of an S, it's a big U on his chest. And instead of calling themselves the Justice League, they call themselves, I believe it's called the Crime Syndicate, is what they call themselves there. So yes, in the comics, he is a genetic match of Superman. So what they decided to do in this movie is still keep the spirit of that. Ultraman is a genetic copy of Superman, but instead of being from another universe, he's something that Lex created from cloning. So anyway, the Crime Syndicate. Thank you, Cord Cutter Cam, for that. All right. Oh, and that's right. The Justice Lords. Or is that from something else? Is the Justice Lords from... I think Justice Lords... Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be getting my wires crossed. I thought Justice Lords was what they called themselves in the other universe. Anyway, I can't remember. I'm getting my wires crossed, I'm sure. I've been doing this for almost 3 hours, so I'm a little fried here. All right. Let's see. Next up, we got Chris Douglas, who writes, been backing Gunn and Safran from day one, loved all the trailers, but was nervous the movie wouldn't live up to my hopes. It exceeded them. Superman was amazing. Casting 10 out of 10. Only gripe was a bit too short. And that is one of my gripes. One of my gripes about the movie is a bit too short. Again, there were a few scenes that needed more time to breathe. Clark with the Kents, Clark with the Daily Planet thing should have been given a little bit more breath. But yeah, I already ran through my whole list of all my nitpicks with the movie, but I really just don't know how I could have been much happier with it. Like it's not a perfect movie, not my favorite comic book movie of all time, but I was very, very happy with it. I'm not quite sure how I could have been happier. And I was thoroughly entertained when I watched it. I'm glad you were too, man. All right. Thanks for that, Chris. Appreciate that, dude. Next up, Royale writes, took my 12-year-old to see it. He started crying when Lex shot the guy in the Pocket Universe. He still enjoyed the movie, but that part got to him. Listen, I'll tell you what. First of all, that's the moment when I was sitting in, again, the first time watching the movie, I was sitting beside Ann on one side of me, Rob on the other. And Lex actually shot the guy in the head. And like, I literally gasped out, holy shit. Like I literally gasped that out, like out loud in the theater, like, holy shit. Like I didn't think they would do that. Then again, I also didn't think Hawk Girl would straight up murder the president of Baravia because she wanted to. But that, whew, and I remember coming out because we also, like, it was me, Rob, Ann, Ray, and our friends, Matt and Jay Lynn. You guys have met Matt before. So Matt and his wife, Jay Lynn, now they've got a kid. This great kid, his name's Obi. Yes, he's named after Obi-Wan Kenobi, named Obi. And like, we're talking about it in the because they didn't bring Obi to the first screening, to the Amazon special screenings. And we were talking, and like, I remember saying to Anne, like, can you bring Obi to this? Like, that's a pretty shocking moment in the movie. Like, it's a pretty shocking moment. It also kind of highlights the heartlessness of this Lex, right? Like, I'm just going to kill these people because other people are nothing to him. Anyway, it was a pretty powerful moment. Anyway, next up, C. Patty writes, I saw someone say Superman is the Barbie for the boys out there. Couldn't agree more. Men should aspire to be this Superman. Again, the true magic of the movie for me. Yes, it's exciting. Yes, it's fun. Yes, it's funny in places. Yes, it's an entertaining movie, all that stuff. But like I said at the beginning of the stream, the thing that makes this movie special to me is that it makes you want to be a better person. Like, this is a superhero. This version of Superman is actually an inspiring figure. He inspires me. I watch the movie and I feel inspired to want to be better as a real person in the real world, right? And that's the magic of this. Not many superhero movies have ever done that. Again, other than Steve Rogers' Captain America in moments in the MCU, but I've never had a superhero. Lots of superheroes I love and I'm fans of and I'm excited about and all that kind of stuff, but I've never had a superhero movie where I literally walk out inspired. And that's what this Superman does for me. All right. Next up, Hank Dunn writes, I think Jor-El is actually Zod, Superman 2 villain. You know, I don't think it was you, Hank, but somebody else just wrote that in earlier. I think Kara is going to see this and go, that's not Jor-El. Like, I know your dad. I knew your dad. That's not him. Like, maybe it does end up again. So whether it's Brainiac or somebody else, some other Kryptonian or whatever, maybe Zod, that kind of corrupted little Kal-El before he ever even got to Earth. We'll find that out. All right. Andy writes, I love that Gunn got into the concept of punk a little bit. I've been getting into the spirit of punk lately because of current events, and CM Punk. Man, again, I know I've already said it like 20 times, but the number of times Ann and I have just popped on the Teddy Bears and Iggy Pop's punk rocker. Well, I'm a punk rocker. Yes, I am. If you guys, I mean, and you know what's great about it? Whenever I listen to it, I can totally see the scene in the movie playing in my head. That's why yeah. Punk became, by the way, how great is James Gunn at taking older, what some people would consider obscure, less mainstream music and making them amazing. Like he did it with Guardians of the Galaxy. Hey, what you doing with your head out? Hey, hey, come and get your love. Suddenly everybody knows that song, right? When it was for the mainstream, it was kind of obscure. He did that with all the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and he's doing that now with Superman because now everybody knows this teddy bear song. And it's great. All right. Let's keep things going here. Andy writes, it's wild for Lex to say that Superman has a secret harem, but even more insane that this billionaire would lie that this immigrant eats cats and dogs. Little real world thing. By the way, it's still profoundly amazing to me that people actually voted for a guy who got on national TV. And despite the fact that every authority in that town said that's not true, literally got on TV and said, these people are eating cats and dogs. And it was verifiably false and not true. But he didn't stop him from saying it. And people still voted for that sack of shit. Anyway. Little side note there. Sorry, I got sidetracked. All right. Next up, Andy writes, I went to a rave last night in a Superman tank top and came across a guy dressed as Cavill's Superman. I can't stop bringing up Superman, even at a rave. I mean, I think the shirt I wore was when I went to go see Superman for the first time at the Amazon. I think I wore my Cavill logo Superman shirt because Superman's Superman. Come on, Superman's Superman. It's all good, especially if you're at a punk rock festival. All right. Let's see. Next up, where are we at? Andy again writes, from what you and everyone else, including me, are feeling after the movie, it sounds like Superman is Mr. Rogers with superpowers, which is awesome. You sent this in before we started the stream, so it's actually really interesting because I was making that comparison myself. Like the only time any movie has made me inspired to want to be a better person more than this Superman movie was the documentary, that Mr. Rogers documentary from like 3 or 4 years ago, however long it was. That Mr. Rogers documentary is the shit, man. You gotta watch it. And you tell me you don't look in the mirror and say, be better to yourself. Like, he was like the ultimate man. Like Fred Rogers was like the ultimate man. And anyway, yeah, but that was a real life documentary with a real life superhero with Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. But in the world of superheroes, I've never walked out of a film that inspired. Yeah, I really loved it. Anyway. All right. Next up. We got C Light writes, I really like Superman. Didn't quite love it. I'm impressed with how Gunn set up the world without feeling crammed, unlike Amazing Spider-Man 2. You know what? Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I still like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But it's close. It's close between liking it and not liking it. It was certainly a major step down from. I thought the first Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield was great. Second one was a big. There are things about Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, that I think are great. There are elements of it that I think are great. Like the dynamic between Peter and Gwen are off the chart. They're great. Every moment that Peter and Gwen are on screen together in that movie, I think it really works. But there was so much that went bad about it. But you know, I am okay with the idea that how do I put this? I remember in the days leading up to the Amazon screening of Superman and me saying, look, because somebody asked me, John, how disappointed are you going to be if this isn't the best movie you've ever seen? And I was like, no, you don't get it. That's not the type of film fan I am. I don't need this Superman movie to be the greatest DC movie ever. I don't need this Superman movie to be the best comic book movie since Endgame. I don't need that. I just need it to be good. We really need a good superhero movie. A movie that we walk in, we get entertained, and we walk out hopefully with a smile on our face. If it can do that, I'm going to be very, very happy and very, very satisfied. That's all I ask out of any movie, really, is just be a good movie. Be a positive experience for me going to the movie theaters. So like, I'm okay. Like, and again, when you go over to something like Rotten Tomatoes and you see that 93% audience score, that doesn't mean that everybody who saw it thought Superman was the greatest comic book movie of all time. That just means out of all the people, the tens of thousands of people who've registered their scores, that just means in a world where did you like the movie or did you not like the movie, 93% of them saying they liked it. And that's all that matters. Some of them think it's the greatest movie of the year. Some of them think it's the greatest comic book movie ever. Some of them think, yeah, it was good. I liked it. It wasn't the best. I didn't love it, but I liked it. So it's just going to be a lot of people in that spectrum, right? In that range. And so for you to say, I didn't love it, but I liked it. I mean, to me, that's still mission accomplished. Now, I liked it a little bit more. Like I border on, no, I did love it. I loved it. That's why I went back to watch it 3 times already, and we'll probably go for a 4th time tonight. But I mean, as long as you walked in and then walk out having had a positive, good experience, maybe not as good of an experience as some other movies, but you went in, you were entertained, you liked it. To me, that's mission accomplished for any movie I go to see. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. All right, next up. Jose Miez writes, will clone Superman become Bizarro? You're not the first person to ask that in the live stream. Look, who knows? But I think it is meaningful that like we didn't see Superman kill Ultraman, right? We didn't see Superman rip off Ultraman's head or have him disintegrated in the anti-proton river. Rather, he just gets sucked into the black hole, and who knows what happens in the black hole, in that kind of a black hole at any rate. So I don't think we've seen the last of that Ultraman. Like whether he comes back as a Bizarro or something else, I wouldn't be surprised. All right, guys, we are at the 3-hour mark, and my voice is starting to go, and I got to do a show tomorrow. So I'm just going to take 1 or 2 more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. Now, there are still other, we're not all the way through all the questions that have been sent in, but I will have to do a companion video because, like I said, we have now just crossed the 3-hour mark that we've been doing this. We've been doing this an hour longer than the movie is. The movie is 2 hours long. We've now been going an hour longer than the movie was. And my throat is starting to go. So we're going to answer a couple more questions. Then we're going to wrap it up. And don't worry, for all of you who had sent in questions before we turned off the super chats, don't worry. I will put together a companion video in the next 48 hours and we'll get all the rest of the questions answered. All right. All the rest of the questions answered. We'll do it from there. All right. Take just a couple more here. Next up comes to us from C Light, who writes, Gunn said every DCU movie will have a different tone. Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. Will this clash when heroes eventually team? How can they do it while staying true to characters? Remember, a good example of it is Wolverine in Deadpool and Wolverine. We never had true R-rated Wolverine the way he was in Deadpool and Wolverine in the X-Men, but there was no doubt this is the same guy. Totally different tone of a movie going from his X-Men world into the Deadpool movie, like much cruder, much crasser, a lot more violent, all that kind of stuff. And yet, did he ever not feel like the same Wolverine from the movies? Of course he did. Still felt like Wolverine. So we're looking now at again, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Nathan Fillion just did an interview where he will appear in the HBO series Lanterns. Now it's going to focus on the two other Green Lanterns, Hal and what's the other one? It's not, is it John Jones? Or is that Martian Manhunter's name? What's the name of the other Green Lantern that's going to be in the Lanterns movie? There's Hal Jordan and there's, help me out in the live chat. I want to say John Jones, but I think that's actually Martian Manhunter's name. It is any minute now. I know we've got like a 15 or 20 second delay between John Stewart. That's what it is. John Stewart. I knew it was John. So anyway, Lanterns is primarily going to focus on those two Green Lanterns, right? John Stewart and Hal Jordan. But Nathan Fillion has confirmed that he's going to be in that. And he's already said he drops more F-bombs in that than he said he's ever done in his career. So I think if James Gunn navigates it right in this universe, the way Wolverine was, again, Wolverine, the X-Men movies are a totally different tone than a Deadpool movie. And yet Wolverine felt right at home in both. And I think they're going to be able to, that's the one that gives me belief that they can pull it off because we've already seen it done with Wolverine. And now, like, I don't think Hugh Jackman is ever coming back to play Wolverine again, but if he did and he suddenly was in an Avengers movie, I have no doubt he'll totally be right at home in there and not be R-rated. So yeah, I think they're going to be able to do it because we've already seen it done. Let's see here. Next up, we've got Anthony C., who writes, I did like it, but what bothered me was I felt Clark had no journey. His existence was built on a lie. I feel Gunn should made that the overarch theme. I completely disagree with you. That was the journey. The whole movie is about, from the beginning, right? He's in the Fortress of Solitude. 4 says, this is the message from his parents. It's what soothes him. He says in very Act 1 of the movie, he's talking to Lois and he says, this is why I do what I do because of that message. He's programmed to be Superman. That's what he believes. Then the whole movie is about his journey of then having that reality shattered, him then totally questioning himself, everything that he thought he knew about himself and everything he built his life on. Then having that conversation with Jonathan Kent about the whole thing about, no, you make up who you are and what you are. And then leading into that further into the movie, that conversation with Lex, like, look, I am human. Forget the Kryptonian part of me. This is part of his journey, all that kind of stuff. And then culminating at the end with him laying on the exam bed in his Fortress of Solitude. And now instead of watching the stuff with his Kryptonian birth parents, he's now watching and more embracing, he's fully embraced his humanity, now watching the footage of the Kents. Dude, if, again, all film is subjective. It hits you one way, it hits me another. The way it hits you is no less valid than the way it hits me. But I mean, like, to me, that, like you say, Clark didn't have an arc. The whole movie was Clark's arc. It was a profound arc for him. Of going from that one place of starting in, it's like my whole life, my whole identity is about being Kryptonian. And I was sent here by my Kryptonian parents to serve humanity. It's why I do what I do, to having that whole thing shattered. And then by the end, completely embracing he's human. Biologically, he's Kryptonian, but he is human. It's his humanity. As he would say, he gets to the point where his humanity is his greatest strength. And I don't know, my film loving brother, but if you don't recognize that as Clark's journey, I don't know what to tell you. Like, yeah, to me, it was very blatantly obvious. But again, movies hit us all in different ways, and if it hit you differently, and I respect that. It's just that I saw it very differently. Okay. 2 more, and then I'm out of gas. All right. Was that Anthony C? Yes. Now, Alex Von Gollum writes, Lois's line, you think everyone you ever meet is beautiful, was deep. I think it partly shows why she fell in love with Soups. I agree. And I love the wording of it. Like Lois could have said, I think it was more descriptive. Like Lois could have said something along the lines of, you think everybody you meet is nice, or you think everybody you meet is good. Like she could have just used that, but there's something about using the word beautiful. You think everyone you meet is beautiful. I think that is far more insightful into Clark than if Lois just said, you think everyone you meet is good. Like when she says, like, you think everyone you meet is beautiful. Like even again, at the end of the movie, when he's talking to Lex, even though Lex tried to kill him, and even though he watched Lex shoot his friend in the head, and even though he knows Lex is behind the invasion of this country, and even though all of that, even then, at the end of the movie, he's talking to Lex and he says, and I hope someday for the sake of humanity, like when he says, my humanity is my greatest strength. And I hope someday you realize for the sake of humanity that it can be for you too. Like he still believes he can reach Lex Luthor. Even when Engineer took the dog, he's still like trying to, even while Engineer is trying to kill him, he's like, there's still hope for you. There's still a chance for you. You don't have to do what Lex tells you. Like even then, so that it's so consistent through the movie. And it all comes down to that line too. Like she doesn't say, you just think everyone you meet is good. You think everyone you meet is beautiful. That whole scene is gold, man. That whole scene is gold. That scene in his apartment from, again, I think the most important lines about, like, he is not even a very good dog, but he's alone and he's probably scared. Like that says everything. But also the lowest part of that conversation is so key and so amazing. I loved it. I loved it. All right. You can hear my voice starting to crack. Last question of the day, guys. Comes to us from Anthony C., who writes, by the way, Crypto and Lex, were you thinking puny God? I just said, you wrote that in earlier before we started the show. I was just saying that earlier. Did anybody else get like flashbacks of Hulk and Loki when Lex Luthor is monologuing and in comes Crypto suddenly out of nowhere, mid-sentence, just starts to beat the crap out of him? I thought that was glorious. I really did. I thought that was absolutely outstanding. All right, guys. With that said, we are now 3 hours and 11 minutes into this live stream, and my voice is now ready to die. Throat hurts a little bit, not going to lie, and I got to do a show tomorrow. So we're going to cut it off here, and in OG days, I'm now going to have to do a companion video to this because we still have a bunch of questions that you guys sent in. Every single one of them is going to get answered. Give me 24 to 48 hours to get that recorded and uploaded, and we will have that out. So if you did send in a question in the last, as we started the show and stuff like that, I was kind of hoping I could power through all of them today, but clearly you guys sent in a lot of questions. So clearly I wasn't able to do that, but I will endeavor to get all of them answered in less 24 to 48 hours, and we'll get up a companion video. Anyway, guys, man, it really hurts. Thank you so much for being here and joining me for this little opportunity to sit back and look at Superman and talk about it in all of its open spoilery goodness. Is this a perfect movie? No. Do I have some gripes with it? I do. I started off this entire stream with going through my list of gripes. But is it a wonderful movie? Hell yeah. It's a great movie. I loved it. I walked out hopeful and inspired and entertained. And hopefully you did too. Apparently a lot of people did. Anyway, guys, I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more tomorrow on the John Campea Show because, we're going to have some box office numbers to go over. By the way, they're exactly where I said they would be. By the way, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the world of movies right now that we're going to have to talk about tomorrow. So we're going to have a lot to talk about. So guys, thank you to everybody for joining me here today. We had thousands and thousands of you guys on a Sunday afternoon. I didn't think we would have this many people in the live chat today. Thank you so much, guys, for coming and joining and hanging out as we talked about Superman in an open spoilery environment. Thank you to all of you guys who sent in questions, the ones we got to and the ones I'm going to have to get to in a companion video. Number one, because you gave us great, insightful, really interesting things to talk about when it comes to Superman. But number two, You supported this channel as you did it, and everybody involved with the John Campea channel. Thanks you guys so much for your support. All right, guys, that'll do it for me for now. Thanks a lot for being here. Don't forget to join us for the John Campea Show tomorrow. We'll look forward to having you. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.